City going for a double-double, while it appears Erik ten Hag is trying to win his last game in charge of United. It's the FA Cup final, live on Talksport with our Manchester correspondent Mickey Gray. A man who scored in an FA Cup final, Stuart Pearce, and your commentator on Talksport, Jim Proudfoot.
Thank you, Adrian, and a very good afternoon to you. You wait more than 130 years for a Manchester derby in the FA Cup final, and then two come along back to back. It's the first time since the 1880s that we've experienced cup final deja vu. And here's a repeat of the previous season's showpiece event as Manchester descends on Wembley en masse, as they did 12 months ago. The agenda then was United's attempt to prevent City emulating their own achievement of a domestic and European treble. Today, they're tasked to stop them claiming another piece of unique British footballing history. Less than a week after Pep led City to an unprecedented fourth successive league title, they aim for the double-double, something that has also never been achieved before. Not too many boxes still unticked, but a remarkable milestone is there to be claimed. This is how the two sides line up today for United. An Arna in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez and Dalot, Amrabat and Mainu, Garnacho and Rashford wide, with McTominay and Fernandes playing as split false nines as they have in the last two games. Ortega's in goal for City, who field 9 former FA Cup winners. The back four, Walker, Stones, Ake and Gvardiol, the only one of their 11 who's playing in his first FA Cup final. Rodri's alongside Kovacic. Silva, De Bruyne and Foden supply the ammunition for Erling Haaland up front. And the referee, Andy Madley, who officiated the most recent Manchester derby back in March. Stuart, throw your mind back 33 years. What's going through the minds of those players right now, particularly those playing in this showpiece event for the very first time?
Well, to be honest with you, you've got to handle the occasion, there's no doubt about that. City are going for the big prize, you know, winning the double on the back of last year's treble is quite an incredible achievement. And the United players, they'll be desperate to finish their season strongly. They'll be desperate to put City's lights out and make sure that they don't achieve another trophy in this long list of trophies that Pep's delivering. And if you're new to these occasions, there's something special about this today. We've covered a lot of cup finals, but the atmosphere that I'm sensing from both sets of fans seems as though it's got a real tinge to it, and I think we're in for a great game, Jim.
Final match at the end of a season in which Mancunian paths have diverged. It's 49 years since Manchester United finished this many places adrift of Manchester City in the league. Victory in an FA Cup final against their City rivals wouldn't paper over the cracks, but it would offer some memorable solace. City themselves merely chasing yet more history. It will be City that will get us underway. Light blue shirts, white shorts, City red shirts, black shorts and socks. And United defend the end away to our left-hand side as we look at it. That's the end in which the Manchester United fans are housed. The old tunnel end here at Wembley. And we're underway. Remember, it only took 12 seconds for Manchester City to get themselves ahead last season when these two sides met. Good news for Manchester United. They've had a better start to this FA Cup final than last year's. They're trying to release Rashford straight away on the edge of the penalty area. Crowded out. City work the ball back for Ortega, who very calmly just walks the ball to the edge of his own penalty area and then can play out from the back. But maybe an early insight into how Manchester United think they can unlock this City defence.
Well, there's no doubt that is the best way of doing that. That high line and the pace of Rashford suggests that's why he's been put in the team, as we thought beforehand.
Now Haaland pushed over inside the penalty area as Gvardiol chipped the ball in, and Andy Madley says no penalty. But I'm sure that VAR Michael Oliver will be having a look at this as we speak.
Well, it's clever defending, but to be honest with you, it's a nudge and it's half a push. I can understand why VAR have not got involved in this and said not clear and obvious. But I tell you what, for me, I'd be disappointed if I was a forward, but it's good, clever defending. That's why he's in the team, Martinez.
No penalty for you, Stuart Pearce, Mickey.
Well, I've got to agree with Stuart, I have to say, Jim. And I think what Martinez does, which is really clever, is keeps his arms by his side. He pushes his body into him rather than shoving Haaland, but Don't do that too many times, because you could find yourselves in bother.
I think the big problem was there, Mickey, the fact it's come so soon in the game, you know. The referee wasn't going to give it, and I think fair play to him.
What an open start of the game. Inside the opening 60 seconds, a really good penalty claim at one end. And United breaking quickly at the other, almost able to get Rashford in behind the City back line at the other.
I think as well, Jim, there might be a little bit of rotation. We're expecting Rashford on the to play on the left-hand side with split centre forwards, but his movement, drifting inside, playing centre forward every now and then, might cause City the odd problem.
Sofiane Amrabat has given a free kick away, which Manchester City take in the midfield. You're with Talksport. And we played a couple of minutes of this 143rd FA Cup final, the 193rd Manchester derby. Guardiola goes back for Ake. Interesting that it's Ake and Stones at the heart of the City defence, when you consider that they've only partnered each other from the start of the game once all season at the heart of the back four. Stones controlling the ball, works down towards the right-hand side. It'll be that Bernardo Silva can bring the ball forward. It'll be his Manchester City swan song today. He's already made pretty major impact in this FA Cup run. Both goals in the quarter-final, a winner in the semi-final as well. Kovacic, who's never been on the winning side in a cup final. He's got a couple of losers' medals, playing it to Stones. John Stones controlling the ball. City working themselves forward into Manchester United territory. The ball goes back for Stones. That's the signal for United to press. And Fernandes hairs after Stones, but he could easily divert the ball to his left for Ake. Kovacic will take it inside the centre circle. Play it back for Stones again. And Manchester City dominating possession, as you would expect, with 3 gone at 0-0 in the cup final.
Just looking at this United tactical approach, I think what their plan is to fill the centre of midfield up. Say to City, you can go wide. Garnacho's tucked in a little bit in his wide berth on the right-hand side. He's tucked right inside with Fernandes, with McTominay, and they're almost saying, and Rashford has come in there as well. And there's probably 30 metres across that midfield, but a lot of room on the outside.
Well, this was something that you were anticipating before the game. We were speaking briefly off air, and you said that as a result of that, it's going to be absolutely pivotal for City. Phil Foden's role today, coming in off the left.
Yeah, it is. And he's got to pick his times when he comes off the left. We've just talked about United probably having at least a box of 4 players in there, maybe more if the wide players are tucking in as well. If Foden comes in, there might not be room there. He might have to work it out quickly and say, you know what, I might even stay outside where the width is, outside this midfield press.
Well, Amrabat is doing a number on him at the moment. He's not letting Foden get too far away from him. Amrabat nominally is the deepest of the Manchester United midfielders, but there's a sense that maybe Foden will be able to drag him out of position. Ake just had to stretch after a slightly poor first touch by his standards, but he worked it back for Ortega, and he plays it out towards John Stones, and Stones can begin to venture forward here for Manchester City. You're listening to United against City in the FA Cup final. It's live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly. They're also underway at Hampden. Celtic against Rangers, 0-0 still. And we'll keep you up to date with everything that is going on there. A rare meeting of those two in a showpiece event these days. Ball played forward down the Manchester City right. Kyle Walker coming forward into the heart of midfield. Forced to slide in and just keep possession. Got it away from Bruno Fernandes. Kovacic will be able to pick up possession for City. Works it back inside his own half of the centre circle for Rodri, who's still in the midst of this extraordinary run. It'll be 75 City appearances unbeaten if they lift the cup today. Blonde hair of Kevin De Bruyne, who's hoping for the 150th goal of his career today. And De Bruyne plays the ball back towards Ake. Ake to Rodri's on the centre spot as he receives possession. And he's just trying to entice either Fernandes or McTominay to come and engage and start the press. Stones has it now on halfway. Foden drifting around. Amrabat's let him go this time. Now Foden will try and make a run off McTominay. The ball is released down the right-hand side of the penalty area for Bernardo Silva to chase. It's cleared by Diogo Dalot. And then McTominay can turn and play the ball through the midfield, but it wasn't the best touch. Amrabat did well for him. He rescued it, got his foot in, and then Varane plays it down for Wan-Bissaka to bring away.
Yeah, just giving an insight into this Manchester United lineup. It's really important that Mainu and Amrabat they're the deep line midfield players, but they've got to play split almost and pick up Foden and De Bruyne and be comfortable in playing wide and away from each other, because that's where the danger's going to be, not through the middle in the central area as such.
Kobe Mainoo finds Bruno Fernandes. Wan-Bissaka bringing the ball forward, finding Garnacho, and it goes back again to Amrabat. Bruno Fernandes to Varane. Sandro Martinez, not the tallest centre-half by any stretch of the imagination, but first choice in that position for United. And they're delighted to have him back involved. It's only his second start since early February. He played 60 minutes last week. He's got that knee injury behind him, hopefully. And he's in possession now in his yellow boots, just on the edge of the Manchester United penalty area. It's 0-0 in the cup final. We played 7 minutes, a lightning start with a very opening 60 seconds, but it's been a little bit more cagey since then. United again looking long. Onana pinging one over the top. Rashford giving chase. Kyle Walker breathtakingly quick. Despite the fact that he's giving a good 6 or 7 years to Marcus Rashford, always looked favoured to get there, and he ends up winning a throw.
Yeah, if I was Rashford, I'd gravitate away from Walker. He's the only one who can deal with his pace. So if I was him, I'd be tempted to come off that line, get myself around John Stones and spring off the back of him. I was going to ask Mickey a quick question here. City over time have been really impressive with their pressing from the front. I don't see them as an aggressive front press team anymore. Do you think that's because their defensive situations got probably stronger over the last couple of years?
Well, I think Pep knows that his players are comfortable on the ball, Stuart. I think that's certainly one advantage they've got.
As Garnacho is played in on the edge of the penalty area, the first shot on target, a right-footed effort that screwed towards Ortega's goal, and he was able to handle it a second.
Do you know as well, Jim, the intensity of Manchester United, the way they've started this game, a couple of things that have surprised me. Bruno Fernandes being the more advanced player of himself and Scott McTominay. I thought it would have been the other way around. But what they're going to have to do the more the game goes on is, because they've got themselves into a nice solid position, is when you're chasing that ball for 4 and 5 minutes and you're not getting anywhere near it, the brain starts to become tired the more the game goes on. They've got to be so disciplined in this game. But going back to your point there, Stuart, yeah, no, absolutely. You can see, I mean, they're sitting back, City.
De Bruyne playing it forward here for Phil Foden. He's just clipped it inside the penalty area. Haaland was arriving. Martinez's positioning was good, and he could flick ahead to it to steer it away. But Bernardo Silva will bring it forward again for City. It's a much more populated penalty area now. Ball played in. Foden, I think, by the time he got his left foot to it, the ball had probably already run out of play. He's just helped it into the side netting, and it goes out of play for a goal kick. It's an interesting point that you make there, Mick, in terms of the possession, because it's 75-25 already in Manchester City's favour. We expected it to be high, maybe not quite as high as that, and mentally United have to be strong as well as physically.
Well, absolutely, Jim, yeah. And what you have to do is, if you're man marker, or if you're marking somebody in his individual, right, you might not have the ball, but if he tries to make a run off you, then you've got to stick with him. And that's what I talked about, matching them for determination as this game started. Well, there's no doubt they've started that way, United. It's whether they can keep that tempo up throughout the whole of the game.
Onana plays the ball forward, and it's then worked by Diogo Dalot out towards the right-hand touchline, where Foden thought he had a chance of intercepting it, but all he could do was steer the pass wide of Wan-Bissaka and straight out of play for a throw. There have been 7 teams who have retained the FA Cup in the league era. And it's happened 3 times in the 21st century. Arsenal, the last team to do it, in 2015. Chelsea 5 years before that. Arsenal again back in 2003 when they beat Southampton in a pretty miserable final down in Cardiff. And prior to that, Spurs did it a couple of times. Newcastle and Blackburn, the other sides that have done it in history. Manchester City hoping to emulate them in retaining the FA Cup, and in doing so being the first side ever to win the double in successive seasons. Garnacho's got the ball in the midfield. Back from him to Rashford. Sofiane Amrabat turning one way and then the other, laying it back for Varane, and will almost certainly be his Manchester United swan song. Now towards Martinez, left-hand side of the area. Martinez controlling it, goes back for Onana. More than happy just to put his left foot through that to clear it. Stones takes a couple of hasty steps back towards halfway. He's unchallenged as he heads the ball forward. Again, it just pings about in that midfield area for a moment before Stones can put his foot on it, and Kovacic will turn it forward towards Walker, get an immediate ball back, and the Croatian can bring it inside the centre circle here for Manchester City. It's 0-0. We've played 11 minutes here on Talksport, and it's not the only game that we're bringing you from Wembley over the course of the weekend. Tomorrow, the £150 million match, Leeds Southampton in the Championship playoff final, as both clubs aim to get back into the elite at the first attempt, and that kicks off at 3 tomorrow here on Talksport. Best of luck to both of those teams. Here's Rodri, back for John Stones in the heart of the midfield. Plenty of City possession. Haven't really had a sight of Anana's goal so far. Stuart Pearce with 13 goalless minutes behind us.
That's definitely been the case, but you can see the tactical approach of United and how they look to nullify and spring off the back of their press.
Kovacic finding De Bruyne. He can clip it inside the penalty area. Varane heads that one away. They've got a few balls in from the left-hand side of the penalty area now. In behind Wan-Bissaka to deliver, but they haven't quite got the delivery right on any of those occasions.
No, they haven't. As I say, it's that press from United that's got to be good, but from that, they can spring, and the press brings Rashford inside, Garnacho inside slightly, and from those positions, they've got the opportunity to spring counter-attacks.
Varane sweeps up, getting the ball away from Kevin De Bruyne. It's out of play for a Manchester City throw. Level with the edge of the United penalty area. The newly prolific Joško Gvardiol, the man that's going to take it. 5 goals in his last 9 games. Only 5 goals that he has scored for Manchester City. Walker playing it forward. Haaland's control a little bit awkward, and then trying to remedy that, he's pulled Lisandro Martinez back. Well, away to our left-hand side, Talksport's senior football correspondent Alex Crook. Just behind the goal that Anana is defending. Crookie, what have you made of the opening quarter of an hour or so here on Talksport?
Well, not too many of the United fans behind me are sat down at this moment in time. Got to say, the atmosphere has been really good. They've been singing songs about those 115 Manchester City charges and reminding City they've won the lot, but lots of nerves every time City are in possession, which is a lot.
Anana getting the ball forward here, and goes out of play for a throw that'll be taken after a deflection off Foden by Dalot over on the far touchline for United.
Yeah, and also as well, just to paint the picture for some of the listeners, just behind the goal, Crooks is sat there with a wonderful Ed Winchester sports jacket on, you know, for any of those United fans that are listening to us on the radio, so just so you can pick him out.
Hi, I'm Alex Crook. Here's Haaland, forward for Foden. That is a cultural reference from the 90s, which means that you and I are actually getting more up to date, slowly. Okay. Playing the ball forward, the referee Andy Madley has given a free kick City's way. It's about 25 yards outside the Manchester United box. Now Kevin De Bruyne will come across to take this. United with everybody back behind the ball, and it's too far out for even the remotest thought of a shot from here, but certainly in an area where something can be clipped up towards the far post, which may well be the intention. Stones stands on the end of the line. He's looking across that United back line. Haaland in, at the moment, a deliberately offside position, will wait for the line to drop. As Kevin De Bruyne is going to try and tease this in over the back of that United defensive line, which is standing 6 yards away from the edge of the penalty area. Foden is in there as well. He just drifts forward and almost apologetically has a little word with Haaland, who stands hands on hips on the edge of the D. Stones looks as though he's going to be the man to try and spin round the back. It's fired in towards Rodri. Varane got it away. And a guy to play for a Manchester City throw down by the corner flag.
I'll tell you what I would do if I was Haaland, and just recently he's been in close contact with Martinez, and Martinez has dealt with him quite well. I would, if I was him, gravitate around Varane. He's the one you can spring off the back slightly better than Martinez. If the ball's coming in the box, Martinez is the one you want to come in on top of.
Throw which City will take about 3 or 4 yards by the corner flag by the time that Gvardiol restarts play. And it's a second down as the ball flicked back off Wan-Bissaka. Gvardiol has the ball in his hands again. This one actually a little bit deeper. This is nearer the edge of the penalty area rather than the corner flag. It's a good quick throw though inside the penalty area for Haaland. Haaland forced to turn back outside the box, finds De Bruyne. Then Rodri skewers it wide here for Bernardo Silva. De Bruyne continued his run down the right hand side of the area, but Dalot cleared. And Walker can bring the ball down. He's in a little corridor of shadow over on the far touchline. Probably about half of the pitch, area-wise, is in shadow. Certainly Ortega's entire penalty area away to our right-hand side is. But Kovacic, who has the ball now in the middle of the sunshine, and it is typical FA Cup final weather, like we all remember it when we were growing up. Ball goes out towards Bernardo Silva, coming in off the right flank for Manchester City. Still 0-0 here on Talksport. Foden, oh, he's just put too much on the ball for Gvardiol. I think Foden was anticipating that as soon as the ball was going to be played into his feet, Gvardiol will be making a run past him down the left-hand side of the area. He was a little bit on his heels. Goes out to play for a goal kick that will be taken by Onana. And we are 17 minutes into the FA Cup final. It's still 0-0.
Yeah, super opportunity there for City to open up. It come into Foden. He was acutely aware of Guardiola had advanced beyond him, but just got the pass just a little too far in advance of him.
Stuart, I don't know if you agree with this, but the way the game's going at the moment, I think not playing with an out-and-out striker, it's actually suiting United, because your thought process of McTominay and Fernandes is when they do lose the ball, they just automatically get themselves behind the ball and get into a position that making a half a City to break United down.
I totally agree. And also what it does, it gravitates Garnacho and Rashford inside on the press, and they're in great positions for the counter-attack as well.
It is effectively a 4-2-4-0 formation that Manchester United are adopting here. We've seen that for the last two league games, both of which they've won. A 3-2 success against Newcastle and a 2-0 win at Brighton, which wasn't enough to get United up into the top 7. So their hopes of European football wholly dependent on winning this game, and it will be Newcastle that will miss out on Europe if Manchester United win the FA Cup. And Chelsea's European fate also depending on what happens here, whether they are in the Europa League, if Manchester City win the Cup, or the Europa Conference League, if United win the Cup. So there's plenty on it for a few sides, but of course, far more on it for the two halves of Manchester than anybody else. Kovacic has got possession. Erik ten Hag's just been making some copious notes as he stands in a charcoal suit on the edge of the penalty area. A hot day for that suit. Here's Kovacic bringing the ball forward. On the break, flicking it past the other as Bruno Fernandes comes back. Everything concertinaed up towards the edge of the penalty area, and United defending, as the guys have been saying, with no width at all, not even defending the width of the penalty area. So a very condensed and tight area for Manchester City to try and work their magic here. They will bring the ball forward now with Stones. Hasn't really had too many thoughts of coming forward into the midfield in advanced areas, as we've often seen from him. They're not playing the 3-2-4-1 here. It's very much a back four. Ake goes down to Gvardiol. Gvardiol controlling the ball, plays it away from Wan-Bissaka to go back for Nathan Ake. And Ake just taking a touch almost on the edge of the centre circle, works it forward for De Bruyne again, and his misplaced pass for Gvardiol. He's a guy to play for a Manchester United throw. It's all about the fact that United need defensive discipline with the way that they're playing. City, for their part, need a little bit of patience.
They do. Patience is going to be key, but then again, they play a patient game every week, City. You know, everyone banks up behind the ball. Some offer slightly different tactical problems to them to break down, but you can tell here that United have done a lot of work this week on this tactical approach. You can almost envisage every day this week that they've done in what you're seeing in front of your eyes.
It's almost been that the last two games have been a dress rehearsal for this. Now Fernandes will play it over the top. Walker did well, until the back heel, back inside his own penalty area, invited a Manchester United shot which was blocked at source. Walker's pace had got him out of trouble, but his intricate flick got him straight back into it. He's got away with that, and eventually Ortega will play it out towards Bernardo Silva. And he goes back for Stones inside the box, and now Ortega to Kovacic. The press is telling. Ake sticks his foot through the ball to clear. First real nervy moments for Manchester City,
to say the least. And now it's City on the counter-attack.
Brilliantly thwarted, because Haaland was brought down. Diogo Dalot is claiming to everybody that will listen that he's played the ball. I thought it was a really good challenge, but the referee has given a free kick to City, and now he will go back towards the City penalty area because Walker was just down hurt for a moment. He's just on his haunches. He's going to be okay, unable to continue it. What was going through his mind with that touch inside the penalty area?
Well, they're used to playing out. That's what they do. But the thing about this United press, they've got 4 players in the front line, so they've got bodies in and around. So if City do decide to play out and take the odd chance, and they're more than comfortable, they do that every week. If there's a loose pass in any way, shape or form, United have got big numbers up in that advanced area.
Well, when they did press, they did so with uniformity there. Manchester City very nearly undone. It remains 0-0. There have been 20 previous occasions when the league champions have played in the FA Cup final in the same season. Got a 65% success rate, so that's maybe a little bit less than you would anticipate. City therefore becoming, or hoping to become, the 14th team in history to win the double. But just to reiterate the point, I know you're aware, the first had to do it in back-to-back seasons. They've got themselves a bit of defending to do here because Dallow has been brought down over on the far touchline in the shadow, and it's a free kick to Manchester United 10 yards inside their own half.
I'm just looking at this game. The longer this game goes on as a 0-0 or even if United get in front, I think Doku could play a big part because the areas that they can get the ball to, City, at this moment in time are out wide, and he certainly fits the category of someone who can receive and go past somebody.
0-0 in the FA Cup final. Manchester City dominating possession, Celtic dominating possession in the Scottish Cup final. That's also 0-0. The only shot on target there to Rangers in what's been quite a static start to the game by the look of it. This one a little bit as well. It's certainly very intriguing with the two completely different tactical approaches. Manchester United, you couldn't say that they've done a number on City by any stretch of the imagination, but they've certainly got a very defined game plan, working out where they might be able to expose City, and on a couple of occasions, Mickey, have come close to being able to do it.
Well, Jim, if I'm right, I think you said that these two centre-halves haven't played alongside each other for Man City as many times this season.
Just once.
Yeah, and I think you can see it. And I think there's a lack of communication there. Kyle Walker taking a risk himself, Ortega trying to play out from the back when there's not that opportunity on, and Stuart made a really good point of 4 players for United pressing in those forward areas, which makes it difficult for City.
Kovacic has played the ball forward now towards Gvardiol, and he works it back for his compatriot. Kovacic then receiving possession again, plays it out towards Rodri. Rodri fires a crossfield bouncing ball out towards Bernardo Silva, who will take it on and then take on Diogo Dallow. Walker picking it up, goes back for Stones. Stones to Kovacic. Here comes the press once more. It tends to be when the ball goes back to Stones is the trigger for Manchester United. Bernardo Silva back for Walker. Walker to his left-hand side for Rodri, and he will fire a more aerial ball down towards the Manchester City left, this time to Josko Gvardiol. It's 0-0. We played 24 minutes in the FA Cup final here on Talksport. Jim Proudfoot alongside Stuart, Pearce and Nicky Gray, two former England internationals with plenty of experience of playing here at Wembley. Foden to Walker. Kovacic. Now they're just taking a little bit of a breather, backing off, but there's no intensity in the press this time. They're just working City from side to side as best they can. They've got the ball back. Foden towards Silva. Foden picking it up again. Kovacic taking it on, getting round the back, pulling it inside the penalty area. Who's going to be there first? It was Mainu, just in the nick of time from a United perspective. He and Gvardiol read it in an instant, and it was a foot race to see who could get there. And Kobbie Mainu did really well for Manchester United, because if that had fallen for Gvardiol, it may well have been 1-0 to City. They'll come again here with Kovacic, who was the man that was the instigator of that particular move. Then it comes to Ake now, on the Manchester City left. Ake to Gvardiol and back again. Ake will pick it up on halfway and lay it back towards Stones. It was much better from a Manchester City perspective.
Yeah, it certainly was, and as I say, it was the run, the timing of the run was perfect. He almost took the ball in his stride and pulled it back across the face of goal, and then Mainu had his wits about him, managed to snuff out any problems there.
On Wednesday, the second European final of the season, we'll see Olympiacos try to become the first Greek club ever to win a continental trophy as they take on last season's runners-up Fiorentina. That's an 8 p.m. kickoff on Talksport 2 Wednesday night, and then the Champions League final here at Wembley on Saturday as Borussia Dortmund attempt to upset the odds by denying Real Madrid their 15th Champions League crown and the 6th in 10 years. That's next Saturday night with a build-up, Adrian in the chair, from 7 o'clock next Saturday. Here and now in the cup final, we're 26 minutes in. Now the goalkeepers had the opportunity to enhance their highlights reel at the moment. Foden's got the ball now, though, laying it back for De Bruyne. It would be fitting if his 150th career goal came in a showpiece event like this. Ball clipped over the top towards Haaland, who's having one of those days where he's glad he's not getting paid by the touch. It's cleared by United from their own penalty area. The slam forward by Fernandes into a neutral area that Ortega is first to ahead of Rashford. And Ortega has just calmly worked the ball forward towards Walker, who was much closer towards the halfway line than the edge of his own penalty area as he just siphoned it out towards the right back. And City with Foden win a free kick as he was just given a nudge by Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, he was. And just going back to the Rashford selection in this team, he is the one that's probably got United supporters off their seats on a couple of occasions with that ball over the top. So for me, if anyone's going to break the deadlock, it'll be him. But they've got to supply the ball to him, and at the last few minutes, especially last 5-10 minutes, it's all City at the moment, and they're not having too many counter-attack opportunities.
Fourth FA Cup final today for Marcus Rashford. That might have been in the thinking for Erik ten Hag when he selected him instead of Amad Diallo. Rashford has experience of winning this competition back in 2016, although he's lost a couple of finals since. There's Josko Vardiol, back for Kovacic. Kovacic working behind square for Walker. And Walker taking a touch can open up his right foot to lay the ball out towards Bernardo Silva over on the far touchline. Walker just on the brink of the shadow as he controls the ball. And he will now change the direction of play with one chipped over top for Vardiol. Vardiol bringing it down, and Wan-Bissaka defending it well because Vardiol's first touch a little bit heavy. Wan-Bissaka just smacked it into the Croatian, goes out of play for a goal kick which will be taken away to our left-hand side by Onana. It's 0-0 on Talksport, and we've played, 27 minutes.
Yeah, I think City have worked out now that if we're going to break United down and the build-up from the back around the halfway line, they can't go directly through the middle of them. They've got to go out wide first, and once they're out wide, it's a run from a central player directly in behind, and then that ball played from the wide man in behind the fullback who comes to engage.
Walker getting away by City through the midfield was a poor pass from Rodri, and Sofian Amrabat is able to pick it up. He goes back for Dalot. Dalot chipping one over the top, and Garnacho, if he's onside, might have an opportunity here. Oh, he's nodded it over the goalkeeper and side puts it in. Manchester United lead by a goal to nil. A hopeful ball over the top, and it's Alejandro Garnacho, capable of the spectacular, but also the significant. Heading it over the onrushing Ortega, ran past him, side-footed it into the empty net. And Manchester United lead by a goal to nil. Vardiol was in there. It might have been his touch that presented the opportunity to Garnacho, but he couldn't miss. The shock is on. United 1, City 0.
Well, tactically, United have got it right so far. That ball over the top has been played maybe on 3 or 4 occasions, and each occasion you thought, this is interesting. I'm not sure the back line was a giveaway of possession in their own half, and just got to look to get that ball in behind. I'm not sure what Ortega was doing, getting involved firstly with coming out as far as he did, and Gvadio's just tried to cushion it back to him. Hadn't realised his cap was so far out. I think they're just checking whether it's offside or not. No, it isn't.
Oh, I mean, I was really surprised because as that was running out, Jim, I have to say I thought Garnacho was in an offside position, but he must have timed his run to perfection. And look, I think they deserve it, United. I think they've looked a real threat when they've got themselves into those 4 positions. He came close on 10 minutes with his right foot strike. But the desire I'm seeing from this United team in the first, 30 minutes of this game, I've not yet seen this season. They're up for it, they're at it, they're organised. And you can see the passion in them shirts. Absolutely fantastic.
I would counter that a little bit, Mickey, and say I'm not sure I've seen the passion within the ranks, but tactically, Ten Hag's got it bang on by putting his team in the slots that he actually has.
100%, you get it completely right. And I think City are getting frustrated because Pep's just in the technical area. He's wanting his players to get the ball into those wide areas, and they're not doing it enough.
Now United will do that, try to release Rashford again. And the volume behind you, Alex Crook, pitch side, has just ratcheted it up 10 or 20 notches.
I'll tell you what, it's absolute pandemonium down here. Everybody on their feet. The Manchester United fans absolutely ecstatic. That song again. We've seen it all. We've won the lot, and they've seen their team take the lead against the odds at Wembley. I'll tell you what, it's baking as well. Jackets off.
Garnacho's goal on the half-hour mark. And United lead City by a goal to nil. Remember, the last time the two sides met, Marcus Rashford has scored a goal much earlier than this. City worked their way back into the game in the second half to ultimately win by 3 goals to 1. They're going to have to do it the hard way again here. Actually haven't lost any of the last 7 games in which they've conceded first. Manchester City only defeated 45 was at Villa in early December. It's their best ever unbeaten run, 35 games in all competitions, but they trail in the FA Cup final by a goal to nil. Here's Gvardiol. He's had a nervy start in his first FA Cup final. He is the only player in the Manchester City team that's never played in an FA Cup final before, although the likes of Foden have never started one before. But perhaps those nerves have been evident for Joshua Gvardiol, and his defensive header to his goalkeeper did him absolutely no favours. No clean sheet for Ortega, who's been a hero late on in the season for Manchester City. But he's conceded today. There's Marcus Rashford over on the United left. Playing the ball back for Dalot. Goes through towards Mainu. Mainu bringing it forward. One back by De Bruyne, who's been quiet so far. Saka. Playing it down to the Manchester United right-hand side for Garnacho, the goal scorer. Right-footed ball in from him. The retreating Stones headed away. Mainu trying to pick it up on the edge of the box. Knocked away, though, by Kovacic. And City will be able to bring it forward with a left-footed clip that is straight into no man's land. And Rafa Varane is there for Manchester United. Varane calming things down. Taking the ball forward towards the halfway line and then checks and lays it back for Amrabat. Garnacho in such a difficult season for so many Manchester United players has been consistent. He's started 38 games in a row now. Although he's only scored in one of his last 18 prior to today, he's shown himself to be the man for the big occasion. And he's got the ball again now, trying to roll Gvardiol, who recovered well. Garnacho's fouled him. As a free kick, the City will take midway inside their own half. The FA Cup final being led by Manchester United here on Talksport.
Well, it's certainly opened this game up now, Jim. United been very good, the way they've set this team up. You can see all the work that's gone in, certainly this week, in trying to nullify Manchester City, but give them the best opportunity on the counter-attack. Martinez just sliding in with a challenge there. He certainly has played his part, and they look a better outfit with him in the team, that is for sure. But City and Pep's gone to sit down, talk with his assistant now, and really basically turn around and say, right, what's the plan B now? OK, we can't go through the middle of them, we've got to go outside first off. How do we approach it from that point onwards?
Well, the more cynical Manchester United fans would tell you that even being 3-0 up here with 20 minutes to go doesn't guarantee too much. But to have a 1-0 lead against the champions at this stage of the game, beyond what many of them anticipated, they have played supremely well, Manchester United, as they did against Liverpool in that thrilling quarter-final. They're showing that, whilst they've been horrendously inconsistent over the course of the season, when they get it right, they really are a team to be reckoned with. Long way to go here, though. Kovacic playing it forward. De Bruyne, Haaland trying to turn. Martinez is there to clear. Ball down by Stones. First touch a little bit awkward. Second behind Walker, who had plenty of time to run round it. Just showed the ball to Rashford and then protected it and lays it back for Stones to get City turned through the midfield again. And Mateo Kovacic has it with 9 minutes to go to half-time. And Garnacho's goal 6 minutes ago, the difference between the two teams, with Manchester United leading by a goal to nil. Rodri's got possession. So it's the day that his long unbeaten streak as a City player comes to an end. Walker, his fluorescent yellow boots, sending it out towards Bernardo Silva. Foden comes to link up the play. Bernardo has it again. Bernardo playing it forward out towards Kyle Walker. The joy that City have had, and it's been isolated, has come down the left-hand side. Silva will bring the ball forward here. It's an awkward one for Onana, simply because of the dip on the ball, but he was always going to be able to dive forward onto it and make a comfortable save. And it remains 1-0 to Manchester United with 37 minutes gone here on Talksport. Nicky?
Well, it's not often you say it, Jim, Stuart. I don't know if you agree with this, but City look a little bit rattled, and at times it's a head scratcher for them, because I don't think they were expecting the way that United have set up. And when they do get into those final third positions, I think they're rushing things.
And now they play Garnacho over the top again. He's got side of Ake. Right footed, he's played his square for Marcus Rashford, but the flag is up. Now it will be inspected. The way that Rashford wheeled away and then stopped makes you think that he believes the decision is correct. Flag up very quickly from the assistant referee, Harry Leonard, as soon as the ball was put into the net. But that's the tactic for United. We've seen it work once, and it very nearly worked there. The ball over the top for Garnacho, and the replay suggests that he was just offside.
I've got to say, the City back line got it exactly right there. All of them a yard inside their own half, but all exactly in line, playing the offside trap. That's not been the case during the course of this game, and probably over a few games that I've seen. They do look vulnerable to that ball in behind, and it is a tactic that could bear fruit.
Ake's got possession at the back for Manchester City, trailing by a goal to nil. And in terms of the stats, possession 77-23 in Manchester City's favour. They've had one shot and it was easily saved. Rodri pulling it back here. De Bruyne just trying to flip the ball out towards Haaland. Amrabat involved as United clear their lines. Fernandes works that little bit deeper, feeds it forward towards Maynard. Manchester United can play their way out. Rashford again, a long crossfield ball. Isolating Garnacho up against Vardiol. That's where they've had their joy. Manchester United playing towards the edge of the penalty area. This time it is two. It's Kobe Mainu. United fans in dreamland. Worked it forward down the right-hand side of the penalty area. Selfless ball in towards Kobe Mainu. And the youngster, who only made one appearance for United at the start of this season, makes himself a hero. The local boy doubles the lead. It's all going United's way in the 143rd FA Cup final. The double-double dreams really wobbling. City trail United by 2-0.
I've got to say, Jim, at this stage of the game, you're going to turn round and give plaudits to Ten Hag, and his tactical approach has been magnificent. And you've also got to ask questions on why the likes of Diaz and Akanji are sat on the bench watching the game at this moment. What a fantastic build-up for United. The ball from Fernandes, when it come into him, just helped it on round the corner. And when Mainu stroked it in the back of the net with a composure, I thought it was Rashford. The finish was that good, that clinical, and a finish of a man way, way beyond his years.
Manchester City 0, Manchester United 2.
Well, let's not beat about the bush about that goal, because it's absolutely outstanding from back to front. In the final part of it was just incredible. The movement from the players, we talked about getting bodies into the box, but the finish was just sensational. That reverse pass from Bruno Fernandes, to see the pass initially is something special, but then to play it, wow, absolutely incredible. This is a huge shock to Manchester City. United have been in this position before, we know that, Jim, so we can't get carried away, but my goodness, what a start to the game.
Here's Rodri for Manchester City. Plays it out towards the right-hand side. They have a lot of work to do now. United leading by 2-0. Kobe Mainu scored the first senior goal of his career in this cup run. De Bruyne playing it in here, just too far ahead of Haaland. And it goes out of play. He scored the first senior goal of his career only a few months ago now. And that was at Newport in the 4th round. Now, the young lad from Stockport has scored in the FA Cup final against United's City rivals. It's a fairy tale story, Alex Crook. United leading 2-0.
It certainly is, Jim, and I have to say, looking here at pitch side, the body language of these Manchester United players far more positive than we've seen over the course of the season. I mentioned before the game Lisandro Martinez and his leadership qualities. He's very much the driving force, but they're celebrating every tackle. The communication's been on point. This has been terrific from Manchester United. Where's it been all season is the question.
Kyle Walker has got possession. And it's given away by Stones straight to Bruno Fernandes, towards the edge of the penalty area. Fernandes shown inside, right-footed effort, ready for goal, and Stones was able to block it, and he goes out to play for a throw.
Just to answer Crookie's question, where has it been there all season? I'll give him the answer to that. The team haven't been put up tactically like they have today. Everyone's got a job. The wide players can't just stand up the pitch. The midfield too have got some legs in there and not getting exposed, and they haven't played as stretched as they have done this season when they've looked at their absolute worst Manchester United. Tactically it's been a masterclass from Ten Hag, I've got to say, and he's got to take so many good plaudits from that.
And McTominay is offside here, the latest ball that he's played for. You think of Manchester United where the strengths lie, guys, as an elite counter-attacking side. They don't get the opportunities because they're Manchester United to play that way too frequently. They've got a big opportunity to do it here, and it has worked in spades.
Yeah, I think it's settled perfectly for them, Jim. I really do. You have to give Ten Hag a lot of credit where credit's due. And also, let's not forget injured players coming back into the starting 11, which is a key thing for them.
A couple of minutes of added time. Now we've got a couple of minutes before we get there. So 4 minutes left in this first half. Manchester City trailing 2-0. Yep, if you just joined us, that is correct. Garnacho on 30, Mainu on 39. Baby Trinity in fine voice again. 2 19-year-olds scoring the goals. There's Rodri, picks up the ball in the midfield. Forward towards Kovacic. And towards the right-hand side for Kevin De Bruyne. De Bruyne, round 1 challenge, trying to beat Dalot, couldn't do so. And Marcus Rashford, back defending, can just flick it into the path of Scott McTominay, who's now got more than 250 United games behind him. He brings it forward, cleared by Kyle Walker, but the referee's whistle had already gone, and the referee Madley has given a free kick to McTominay and Manchester United. They're not going to be in any hurry to take this. It's inside their own half. They lead by 2 goals to 0.
I'll tell you what, Jim, just to my right-hand side, I'm seeing Akanji and Doku warming up, and it wouldn't surprise me they're on sooner rather than later. Doku's got the ability, that's where the space is, on the width. They need a wide player that can go past somebody, City at the moment. The only good thing for them, well, depending which side he plays, to be quite honest with you, I think United will be pleased to see Doku come on up against Wan-Bissaka. If it is this side, I think he's probably more suited going the other side and having a bash at Dalot.
Well, if you have a look at the Manchester City game changes, and you can't write any of them off, that goes without saying, but we haven't seen too much of Foden, we haven't seen too much of Silva, we've seen even less of De Bruyne. They need to do something to try and redress the balance, Manchester City, and of course there are the defensive susceptibilities that have been twice exposed. Now they've got a free kick here, which is left of centre, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Kevin De Bruyne is the player that has been brought down, and Kobe Mainu, I think, is going to be receiving the first yellow card of this one.
Be interesting to see who they bring off for Doku, Stuart. In those forward positions, I think it's understandable who they might bring off at the back, but if Doku's going to work over on his left-hand side, where it looks like Vardiol seems to be the one who's hugging the line, if you like, how do they put Doku? Is it Foden?
Well, this is the problem you've got. You might look at this and say, hang on a minute, bring Foden inside and take De Bruyne off. Might be your option. But when you've got such a good start in 11, it's very difficult. At this stage, you might even take Kovacic off and say we don't need another more defence-minded player.
Well, you preempted my question to you. It is something that Adrian will talk about at half-time, of course, but it could well be Kovacic, because the way that United are playing, do you need a double pivot in there. Here's De Bruyne clipping this free kick in, and it's just bounced innocuously straight through for Onana inside the 6-yard box. We're in the second minute of first half stoppage time, and Manchester United lead it by 2 goals to 0. They've got a pretty decent record this season when they've been 1-0 up. They have only lost 2 league games. Well, 2 matches against Premier League opposition when they've scored first. One of those, though, was that match against City. Haaland chasing, beaten to it by Varane. They'll have it on the edge of their own penalty area. Fernandes heads it on. Stones will come back and mop up. They'll play it forward towards Kovacic. Kovacic inside the centre circle. Just taking it on. Getting away from Fernandes. Now towards Guardiola. Guardiola controlling the ball on the left-hand side. Plays it forward towards De Bruyne. And the referee gives Manchester City throw. Let's go Guardiola. Don't think there's going to be any time to take it. He throws the ball to the turf in dismay. The United fans in front of us give an ovation of rapturous applause to their heroes in red. This has been a performance that has been so unlike what we've seen from Manchester United over the majority of the season. They lead by 2 goals to 0. They thoroughly deserve their advantage. It's been an excellent display. City, the champions, have been lacklustre, and they've got a stack of work to do. Half-time in the final. Manchester United 2, Manchester City 0.
And Pep Guardiola resorting at the end of the first half to berating and questioning the fourth official. It's going to get him nowhere. Manchester United players celebrated at the end of the first half, and you kind of understand why. First side for 20 years to start 2 teenagers in a cup final, and they both go and score, and United lead by 2 goals to 0. Let's take a look at the half-time highlights in partnership with Carling.
The Emirates FA Cup half-time highlights on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
Well, Mickey Gray, you said in that first half City are rattled. They've underestimated Manchester United. Pep's picked the wrong team as well. You just mentioned Kovacic at the end of the first half. I forgot he was even playing. They've been that bad, Manchester City. It's an extraordinary first half from United.
Well, let's touch on Man United, Adrian, the way they set up before this game. I didn't see that coming. I thought the 2 wide players, Garnacho and Rashford, would stay out wide and try and cause a threat in the final third, but they've had to do their part. They've had to work in such a tight area in that midfield, and I think that surprised Man City because they've had the chance to play the ball out wide to Guardiola and Bernardo Silva on that right-hand side, and yes, on a couple of occasions they put the ball into the box, but I think they ran out of ideas. Apart from the run that Kovacic made into the box with a pull back towards the penalty area, hardly ever seen him in the game. That's down to the way that United have got themselves set up and organised. But I think City, yes, they were always going to have a lot of possession, but I think they look shell-shocked at times. You know, it's like a wow factor, like, wow, we didn't expect this from United. But what a first half, I have to say, from Eric Ten Hag's men. And said to Stuart in that first half and Jim, it suits them down to the ground, not having a striker and playing the way they are because they can get that extra midfield player back into the central areas. And City have not come up with the answers to break them down.
Yeah, they've looked, you're right, running out of ideas is how City have looked going forward, and it's largely because of the setup by Manchester United. Talk to me, Stuart Pearce, from a left-back's point of view. Josko Guardiola has been having flashbacks to the semi-final of the last World Cup when he was absolutely ruined by an Argentinian. Messi humiliated him at Lusail Stadium that night. This afternoon, another Argentinian, Alejandro Garnacho, has ruined Guardiola for the opening goal. But what would you have done differently? And was it more about Stefan Ortega than Guardiola?
I would say it's more down to the goalkeeper, personally. Listen, when the ball's up in the air, Mickey, you'll know this, you've only got eyes for the ball. You're hoping your goalkeeper is in a position where you can just head it back to him. Sometimes you might be better off heading it up in the air and get yourself a second chance to have a look round and deal with the ball. United chased it down. They've had many advanced areas on occasion on the press, and they caused a problem. It can happen to anyone. I'd put it more down to the goalie. I think the goalie's got to see the whole situation and stay put.
I'll tell you what I would say though, Adrian. For the life of me, I can't understand why they picked them 2 centre-halves. Man City. I think there's going to be a change at half-time. They've got to do something because Stones and Ake have not played many times. I think Jim said it was once this season. You don't come into an FA Cup final and try and make up the back four. As good as you are in forward positions, you've still got to try and keep the ball out of the back of your net. They looked all over the place. Communication wasn't there. The goalkeeper for the goal, that's communication. You can see the goalkeeper coming off his line as a centre-half. It's your worst nightmare because you're thinking, well, what can I do with this? It's up in the air. All I can do is head it back to my goalkeeper. I'm not going to do a bicycle kick in my own 18-yard box. They just look rattled all over the place.
Well, I think Pep's team selection has disrespected Manchester United in many ways, and the second goal kind of proved that. You've got a United side growing in confidence, a City side that's looking all over the place at the back, and I think it's brilliant football, Stuart Pearce, from start to finish that goal. Walker gives it away, long ball over the top to Garnacho on the right, and that pass in the middle, I think it's Fernandes onto Kobe Mainoo, and what a finish. It's just a brilliant team goal, isn't it?
It certainly is, and, you know, I'm pleased that they've scored the goals that they have, United, in some ways, because it underpins the tactical work they've done out of possession. And all the work that they've put in this week is bearing out in front of you. And for me, as an aspiring coach or whatever I am, I think it's brilliant to watch how a manager's thought, how can we beat Man City? He'd have sat with his coaching staff this week and said, how can we put a team out man for man that is so inferior to this City team but beat them? And he's come up with a plan that's bearing fruit at this moment in time that's absolutely magnificent. I'm absolutely convinced. For me, I think John Stones will come off and Akanji will come on by the looks of it. Doku's going to come on. I'm not sure for who, someone in that front three. For me, it will probably be De Bruyne. It could be one of them. But they need someone in the wide areas that can run past somebody at this moment in time.
I think you might have been right, Stuart, as well, when you touched on Kovacic as well. I don't think they need those two holding midfield players. I think they might. If Kovacic comes off, it gives Doku then the opportunity to play on this left-hand side. And also, Adrian, as well, Erik ten Hag, we talked about a lot before the kick-off in this game. He was under pressure. This could be his last game. Tactic-wise, he's been on that training pitch every single day to set them up to play in this game. But if your players know that you're leaving, they don't put in a performance like that. They don't. The manager tells you something, you go, well, he's not going to be here on Monday. I'll just go out there and I'll enjoy it. I'll do what I can. If we win the game, brilliant. But they're on the same page as him. And I think that's been brilliant to watch.
Let's go behind the goal because Alex Cook is with the United fans who must be absolutely delirious and a little bit shocked as well, Crookie.
I was going to say, Adrian, I think a lot of them are watching in disbelief. They're just watching the big screen behind me, actually, and they are cheering the replay of the two goals. They've just seen that majestic pass from Marcus Rashford out to Garnacho. What a goal that was. What a team goal, as Mickey said in commentary. But I'll come back to it. It's the character that Lisandro Martinez has brought to this team. Mickey quite rightly pointed out before the game there's been a lack of leaders at United this season. Certainly hasn't looked that way in the first half, and I think they have surprised Manchester City because, let's be honest, they probably expected United to be a little bit ragtag as they have been over the course of the campaign. I still think they need a third goal because City will score, and we saw what happened with United in the semi-final against Coventry. From the minute that Coventry got a goal back, they absolutely melted. So fascinating with the likes of Martinez back out there, how they react if they do concede.
Indeed, next goal absolutely crucial in this FA Cup final, that Manchester United are leading by 2-0 against Manchester City. That was thanks to Carling. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
The Emirates FA Cup halftime highlights on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
Half-time in the Scottish Cup final at Hampden Park. Talksport's David Tanner.
And it's Celtic 0, Rangers 0. Cup final weather, Hampden immaculate. As big a noise as I've ever heard at an Old Firm clash. But so far the players have failed to perform on this wonderful stage. It's been competitive in midfield, sure, but we've had 2 shots on target from open play. Fabio Silva of Rangers didn't trouble Joe Hart in his final game before retiring, and Kyogo didn't trouble Jack Butland at the other end. The best chance of the game was actually a James Tavernier corner kick right on half-time from the left, an in-swinger that Joe Hart had to look lively and tip from just under the crossbar. Very competitive, as I say, but so far, no goals. Celtic 0, Rangers 0.
We're back here at Wembley in the FA Cup this season. United have given up a 2-goal lead at Newport and a 3-goal lead against Coventry. Have they learned from those mistakes? We'll find out very shortly. Second half coming up live on Talksport.
The Emirates FA Cup live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
Ah, blue sky, birds singing, flowers blossoming. It can only mean one thing. The Volkswagen Spring Sale has sprung. Now you can get a blooming good £750 extra off any new Volkswagen across our entire range. Ah, that fresh new car smell. Search the Volkswagen Spring Sale and unlock amazing savings on our iconic hatchbacks, SUVs and our all-electric ID range. Book your test drive now. Don't miss it. Sale ends in 3 days. T's and C's apply. Retail buyers only. Orders between the 16th and the 28th of May. Registered by the 30th of September. Volkswagen Finance.
Free dining and drinks is back at Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, where magic finds its way into every moment. Book selected 2025 packages early and get free dining and drinks. A 14-day ticket for the price of 7. Plus, when you book by the 2nd of July, you'll save up to £300. Book now with Virgin Atlantic Holidays. Selected 2025 arrivals and Disney resorts. Up to £300 saving dependent on package type. Conditions and exclusions apply.
Put your Three Lions knowledge to the ultimate test with the all-new Talksport Football Trivia board game, England Edition. Use your on-target trivia skills to take on all challengers and score the ultimate board game bragging rights just in time for the summer of football. Featuring hundreds of weird and wonderful questions about the England men's football team. The Talksport Football Trivia board game, England Edition. Available now at shop.talksport.com.
Betfred's Bet Builder. So once a game has started, you can choose 2 or more selections to create your own unique bets. Bet in play with Betfred's Bet Builder. Available in Betfred shops. Selected matches only. Maximum stakes apply. Markets made available at Betfred's discretion. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
McDonald's are making small improvements to our classic burgers, searing our 100% British and Irish beef patties so they're even juicier. And we're serving them hotter for meltier cheese, all in new toastier buns. The classics, now a little more Comparison with prior classic burgers, served after 11 a.m, subject to availability.
If you own a timeshare, you may have been missold and could be owed substantial compensation. Text timeshare to 78900 to find out more.
At Lidl, we're always Lidl on price. So much so, we're officially the Super Grocer 33 cheapest basket in Britain, beating all those other supermarkets basket for basket. So save on your shop and feel like a hero. Now that's big on quality. And always Lidl on price. GB only. See lidl.co.uk/cheapest basket for details.
Don't miss out on the best bits this summer. Watch tennis on your Samsung Galaxy S23 FE whilst catching rays. The races whilst at a party. The 100-metre sprint whilst at a wedding, if you dare. Or any sports whilst on the go with your phone. Plus, claim free Buds FE with your purchase. Win-win. And hopefully, win. Purchase by 30th of May 2024. Claim Buds FE in white from Samsung.com within 30 days of purchase. T's and C's apply.
Here's football legend Jamie Redknapp for new hands-free Skechers slip-ins footwear.
As a football player, I'm used to not using my hands. So when Skechers came out with hands-free shoes, it was a match made in heaven. Because with new Skechers slip-ins, I just step in and go, without bending down or touching my shoes.
Find Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store or skechers.co.uk.
The Emirates FA Cup live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
Game day. Aria Gold Award winner for Best Sports Coverage 2024.
FA Cup Final, Game Day live
on Talksport.
Yeah, live at Wembley on Talksport. And Wembley in a bit of shock because Manchester City trail Manchester United by 2-0. It's not luck. This is not a fluke. Manchester United had a game plan and it is working. And now we're going to see what Pep Guardiola has got. We're back here tomorrow for the Championship playoff final. One of my favourite dates in the football calendar. Leeds United against Southampton. Live commentary on Talksport will be at Box Park before the game. And pitch side at Wembley, 1:30 onwards for Leeds Southampton. Kicks off at 3. Martin O'Neill will be part of the commentary team for that one. Wednesday, we've got Olympiacos against Fiorentina in the Europa Conference League final. That's live on Talksport 2, coverage from 7:45, kick-off at 8. And on Friday, we've got the Lionesses taking on France in a crucial Women's Euro 2025 qualifier. Faith Carruthers in charge of that. That's live on Talksport from 7 p.m. Next Saturday, we're back here at Wembley yet again. It's the Champions League final. Stuart Pearce, Jim Proudfoot back with me. Adrian Durham at Borussia Dortmund against Real Madrid. The Champions League final to see if Jadon Sancho or Jude Bellingham can win the Champions League. That's next Saturday night. Join us from 6 p.m. on Talksport. And then after that, we get into the pre-Euro 2024 friendlies. Gibraltar against Scotland, 5 o'clock on Talksport 2 on Monday the 3rd of June. And that same night on Talksport, England against Bosnia and Herzegovina, live from Newcastle. Myself, Jim and Stuart will be at St James Park for that game. Right, cricket, it's the end of the innings. John Norman.
184 the target for Pakistan, who won the toss and decided to bowl. Top score for the captain, Jos Buttler, 84. England leaving runs out there, though, Adrian. They lost 5 wickets for just 25 runs, but that did give the crowd early reason to cheer Jofra Archer. Back in the side after spending a year on the sidelines with injury, and he hit 2 boundaries in his 4-ball stay. 183 for 7 then, England at the end of their 20. Pakistan need 184.
Well, back here at Wembley, Man United are out there. City making their way out onto the pitch. Said before, Gareth Southgate, Steve Hollander here. Wonder what they made of Kobbie Mainoo and that goal in the first half. What do they make of Marcus Rashford and his contribution on that left-hand side in the first half as well? Sun's still shining, and it's shining on Manchester United, and they're kicking towards their fans in this second half. They lead by 2-0. Perfect game plan from Erik ten Hag. But what has Pep Guardiola said in that dressing room at half-time? How are City going to turn this one around? It's Manchester City 0, Manchester United 2, second half, live from Wembley on Talksport with Mickey Gray, Stuart Pearce and Jim Proudfoot.
Well, the answer to the conundrum is that he's going to take Nathan Ake off and Mateo Kovacic. So Akanji is on, playing on the left of the 2 centre-halves, and Jeremy Doku has taken up station on the left wing for Manchester City. I'll run through the 2 teams for you in a moment. Manchester United back underway. It was the final 10 years ago was the last time that a side led by 2-0 and didn't lift the trophy. That was Hull, beaten by Arsenal, but Arsenal had already started mounting their comeback before half-time. City lining up Ortega in goal, Walker, Stones, Akanji and Vardiol. And then Rodri anchoring the midfield. Bernardo Silva is on the right, De Bruyne, Foden, and then Doku and Haaland playing through the middle. Although Stones has already gravitated into a more midfield role, and it looks as though they are going to go 3-2-4-1 for this second half. Ball bypassing Stones, trying to push forward. Akanji, who's playing in the middle of 3 centre-halves, will go back for his goalkeeper. So they switch to 3 at the back.
Yeah, you thought this prior to the game. I've got to say that they might adopt this more 3 at the back scenario. And what this has done, it might leave more gaps and more space for United on the counter-attack.
Dalot will bring the ball forward here for Manchester United towards the edge of the penalty area. Kobbie Mainoo, the youngest goal scorer in an FA Cup final for 60 years. John Sissons of West Ham back in 1964. He was on the winning side that day. And now Scott McTominay will play it for Mainoo, laying it off, but Bernardo Silva is there to win it back. United unchanged. It's a 4-2-4-0 formation, the best way of describing it, really. Onana in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez and Dalot, Amrabat and Mainoo, Garnacho, McTominay, Fernandes and Rashford, and nobody up front, but that lack of an orthodox striker causing problems with late runs from deep. Now, Onana is a long way off his line, and that was a very speculative attempt from, well, let's say Charlie Adam territory, for want of a better description, about 60 yards out. It sailed straight over his bar and out of play for a goal kick. Rodri, seeing that Onana was maybe taking a a liberty on the edge of his own penalty area, just tried a little sighted.
Yeah, I think the changes for City, I'm not sure how that will affect United. I don't think it will in regard to their line-up and their tactical approach. It just depends whether this has impact on whether Wan-Bissaka can deal with Doku when he gets the ball and runs at him.
And now long ball over the top, and again Marcus Rashford almost able to get in round the back of Walker. And a touch might have given himself a presentable opportunity, but Ortega will bolt it out. And City will bring it forward again. So it's Walker, Akanji and Guardiola's three centre-halves, and Stones pushing forward into midfield alongside Rodri. Foden and De Bruyne are split tens. Haaland going through the middle, and Bernardo Silva and Doku keeping the width. And boy, are they keeping the width. They're both within about a couple of feet of the touchline at the moment, with City in possession, trailing by 2 goals to 0. Ball is laid back towards Phil Foden. He finds Walker. Walker will play forward here. Rodri bringing it down towards the right-hand touchline for Bernardo Silva. Quick turn from him to try and get himself into a crossing position. Dalot read it in time to make his life difficult, and when Silva popped it off, it was easily mopped up by Amrabat, who didn't have to move. He'll release McTominay. McTominay bringing it down towards the left-hand touchline, then force the jet back inside and feed Marcus Rashford. And Dalot will go all the way back to his goalkeeper, Onana. And Haaland is in there with a token gesture of a press, but not a lot more than that. And Haaland International can clip the ball out towards the right-hand side. Now they're playing it for Amrabat, put under pressure. That was a much more intense press from City. Varane finding him again. And Amrabat on the edge of his own penalty area turns it back for Onana, and he will take a touch and will get it upfield. With Manchester United leading in the FA Cup final here on Talksport by 2 goals to 0. Doku's first real involvement in the game to try and win a battle with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He couldn't. And United will be able to bring it forward, play it to Kobbie Mainoo over on the United right. Back for Wan-Bissaka again. Garnacho. Mainoo rolling it forward. Great third man run from Bruno Fernandes. Slides in and controls it. Trying to slip the ball to his right for Marcus Rashford, and it was blocked and cleared. And if that pass gets through, it could well have been 3 and game over.
Well, we talked about City at half-time have got the ability to score a goal. I understand that, but to be honest with you, I think United have, and I think United will score another one in this game.
When you think back to high-scoring finals in the past, if Manchester City are to get themselves back into it, it's very rare that both sides will score 2 or more. Talking about that Arsenal-Hull game in 2014. Further back than that, the thrilling 3-3 between Liverpool and West Ham in 2006. But prior to that, you're talking early 90s, another 3-3 draw between United themselves and Palace, which of course went to a replay that United won with Lee Martin's goal. Bruno Fernandes to take this free kick after McTominay was fouled. It's the deftest little clip forward, and it fell straight to Jeremy Doku because he didn't put enough on it. He can't find a way forward as he tries to barrel through the midfield. Wan-Bissaka bringing it forward. He can't find Garnacho. Just a little bit of a scrappy passage of play. Mickey Gray still 2-0. What have you made of the Manchester City changes?
Well, I think the changes were expected, Jim, but I'm not sure the system that City are playing with. It's more 3 centre-halves rather than an inverted fullback, which we've seen from them in the past. And I think they're vulnerable. Marcus Rashford's made 2 great runs in behind him, and either centre-half don't know which one to pick him up.
Rodri for Doku. Guardiola coming forward towards the edge of the Manchester United penalty area. Their defensive record would suggest that they might not keep a clean sheet in this game. Bernardo Silva clipping the ball in here towards Haaland, but it's another really good defensive header from Martinez to get it away. They've conceded 84 goals this season. If they would have let in another one, it's their worst defensive performance for 60 years, Manchester United. But if they only let in one more, they've won the cup. Here's Stones. Kevin De Bruyne. Here, Belgium bringing it forward. Foden lending the ball back to De Bruyne. And then as it's turned forward through the midfield, it's Guardiola who's given it away. He's passed it straight out for a goal kick that will be taken by Onana and Manchester United. And if there was going to be a storm at the beginning of the second half for City, they've hidden it well, because the opening 7 minutes they've just done very little to concern United at all.
Stuart, again, I don't know if you agree with this, but if you ever wanted a player to in a 1v1 situation. I know they've made the changes at half-time, but I think you'd want Wan-Bissaka up alongside Jeremy Doku, because he's just had no joy from him at the minute.
Well, that's exactly the point I was going to make, Mickey. If I was Doku, I would want to get away from Wan-Bissaka, come over this side of the pitch. That's the key.
McTominay leading another counter-attack for Manchester United. City have got their defensive shake back behind the ball. McTominay going down. Referee Madley says no penalty. Fernandes then picks up the loose ball inside the penalty area. Try to work it through a forest of legs, but couldn't feed Rashford. And City will bring it away and find Jeremy Doku. And Bissaka sliding in as fouled. And it's a free kick that City will take on halfway. They trail by 2-0. They are a side that have won 9 in a row in the Premier League. They've won 16 of the last 20 games in all competitions, 27 out of 32, unbeaten in 35. You never know when they are beaten. Well, it doesn't happen very often, but as we've seen this week live on Talksport with Bayer Leverkusen, sometimes you can reach a bridge too far, as this City's. Doku taking on Wan-Bissaka, who's done well. He's pulled it back here for Phil Foden. Foden trying to roll it inside the penalty area, cut out by Amrabat. Doku has it again. In towards Foden, just couldn't get a touch, adjust his feet quickly enough, and the ball, agonisingly from a City perspective, rolls through inside the 6-yard box, where Onana is very grateful to be able to pounce on it. It remains 2-0.
Yeah, good opportunity there. Doku faced his man up and decided to just slide one inside to Foden, who'd made a really good run, and he probably would have been better off taking a touch. He's tried to win it first time.
And Alvarez has been called back from his warm-up, and he's going to be coming on for City very shortly. We're only 10 minutes into the second half. City bringing it forward again. Doku, hard and waiting for the ball inside the penalty area. Falls for it, and he's hit the underside of the bar. And it cannons the safety for Manchester United. First sniff of a chance that he's had. Onana beaten, but the flame of the goal saves Manchester United. City will come again. Work towards the edge of the box. Stones. Alvarez has got Guardiola's left hand on his left shoulder as the pair of them come to the edge of the technical area, and the Argentine's going to be on the next break in play. Foden sends it wide out towards Doku. Doku's got it again now. Manchester with everybody back inside their own penalty area. Doku trying to tease it across. It goes into the side netting via a deflection for the first corner of the afternoon. Manchester City will take it, and they've come inches from halving the deficit.
Good defensive work there by Wan-Bissaka. Showed him the line, but he's got the pace and the know-how how to deal with Doku on that occasion. And that moment when that bar was rattled could be the defining moment of this game.
Corner to Manchester City, clipped in, Onana punching it clear. Not the best punch, he didn't reach the edge of the penalty area, but Amrabat can get it further away. Only as far as Walker. Walker to Foden to Rodri. Rodri to his left-hand side. Guardiola controls the ball on his right foot, passes it across his body to De Bruyne. In from him, too much on that for Haaland. And he drifts out of play for a goal kick. And here's the latest City change, and it's the end of Kevin De Bruyne's day.
Yeah, I don't think he's been fully at it, De Bruyne, today, to be fair. But then again, they're creative players. Silva, Foden, you could probably say the same about them as well. And he just needs to shake things up, because at the moment, the tempo and the pace of the game is certainly in United's favour.
Mickey Gray, what are your thoughts on that change?
Well, I was just wondering, Jim, before his opportunity, Erling Haaland's, whether it was going to be him for Alvarez, because Haaland's not really done anything. But is that why you keep him on? Because it just takes a split moment for him to find that little pocket, and that's what he comes up with. As that ball came into the box there, it just went out for a goal kick. You could have thrown a blanket over 10 outfield players from Man United. They are so narrow and compact.
Well, Erling Haaland's record clearly speaks for itself, but in this competition as well, 8 goals in 6 career FA Cup ties. He's only scored in 1 FA Cup tie this season. If he scores today, he will become the joint leading scorer in this season's competition proper, along with Ellis Sims and Sammy Schmodix. He got 5 in that 5th round win at Luton. It's the only FA Cup tie that he has scored in, but he's come inches away from getting City back in the game in this final. We played 12 minutes of the second half, and it's as it has been for the last 18 in terms of the score. Manchester United leading by 2-0. Here's a Kanji with a header, forward through the midfield. He's come on at half-time. City have made 3 changes. Rodri laying it out towards another one of the substitutes, Jeremy Doku. Doku's had a lively start. Trying to get away from Varane, setting it up towards the edge of the penalty area, poked on towards Bernardo Silva here. Bernardo Silva back for Stones, deft little clip in from him, sails over Garnacho's head, but Rodri's going to be able to keep it alive. The left-hand side of the penalty, he gets it in just too high for Haaland. Header away from Dalot. United player takes a tumble on the edge of the penalty area, no foul and no real complaints from Foden. And then United try and work it forward quickly, and Ortega is backpedaling as quickly as he can. But the situation's been rescued by Gvardiol, who nudged Garnacho out of his path and just got back goal side to be able to feed it back for his goalkeeper. So City will come again. The omnipresent threat of a counter-attack there for Manchester United. Doku in the penalty area at the other end with a shot that takes Wan-Bissaka off his feet. Amrabat is able to clear, but it is all City with a renewed purpose now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And United look as though they're taking a breather in the game when they shouldn't. Their shape's gone a little bit slightly wayward, and they've got to make sure they keep that solid shape that's given the 2-0 lead.
Stones to his right-hand side for Julian Alvarez. Alvarez finds Rodri. Doku being played in at every given opportunity now for Manchester City. Faced up by Wan-Bissaka, Garnacho never too far away. Ball is laid back for Gvardiol. Here's Kyle Walker on the edge of the area. Right-footed shot. It's a tremendous strike and a brilliant save. Nana dives to his left, and he's able to beat it away to deny Walker just his 7th goal in more than 300 City games.
Absolute top-quality football there. Hell of a strike from Walker. And Onana got a strong left wrist on that one.
Corner is taken short. Back for Bernardo Silva on the corner of the penalty area. Alvarez looking outside the box from the set-piece setup. Doku. Challenge from Wan-Bissaka gets it away. City winning all the seconds at the moment. United can't get out, being hemmed in more than at any previous stage. Bernardo Silva has it on the right-hand side of the penalty area. Alvarez sending it in too deep for Haaland. The defensive header from Wan-Bissaka actually keeps the ball in play. City recycle it. Onana coming out to punch it. Varane heads it out of his grasp and behind for another corner.
Well, we're at that crossroads at the moment with United. We've seen the best of United so far this season in the first 45 or so minutes.
Alvarez just over the bar.
And now they're at a crossroads, and they need to keep doing all the good things that have got them in front. Are we going to see the side of United that's been so disappointing this year?
When you start thinking negative thoughts, the first thing as a defender, what you do is, Stuart, is you start dropping into your own 18-yard box. That back line of Man United, which was high and organised and intent in the first 45 minutes, is now starting to think, well, hang on a minute. We need to get ourselves organised. Let's just soak up this pressure. That's 3 or 4 great opportunities City have had in the last 4 or 5 minutes. They've got to start thinking to themselves, right, we've got to give ourselves a breather. The only way we're going to do that is keep the ball ourselves.
Anxiety in the stands behind me, guys, and anxiety on the Manchester United bench as well. Eric Ten Hag has sat down momentarily. His assistant, Steve McLaren, very animated. I think he's telling the United players to get higher up the pitch.
That's Alex Crook, Talksport's chief football correspondent, right in front of him. Bruno Fernandes is claiming that he was pushed. The referee has given a throw Manchester City's way rather than a free kick to United. He played 61 minutes in the FA Cup final. You're listening to Manchester United 2, Manchester City 0. And it's live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly. More live football coming your way tomorrow. A small matter of the Championship playoff final this time tomorrow. Leeds against Southampton. A mouth-watering playoff final in prospect. You'll hear it here on Talksport. Bruno Fernandes. McTominay is spaced to his left-hand side. Coming forward towards the edge of the area. Right-footed effort that just cannoned into John Stones. And City will be able to bring it away from inside their own box with the deeper line, Bernardo Silva. He's waited for Walker to make a run for him. He's actually used him as the decoy, turns it back for Ortega. Ortega getting it forward, goes back out of the Manchester City left. Guardiola will find Foden, he will find Stones. In the first half it was very difficult to make a case for Manchester City. I think for Manchester City, because the opportunities were few and far between. They're some way shy of the standards that they've set themselves. It's been a performance much more reminiscent of Manchester City in this second half. They are doing everything they can to turn the screw, but they haven't made any inroads into United's 2-goal lead up to now. They'll be able to here with a little reverse ball towards Phil Foden. It's over here, and it goes out of play, and with 27 minutes of normal time remaining, Stuart, 2-0, Manchester United continue to lead.
Yeah, they do. As I say, they've had a rocky period the last 5 minutes or so, United, but the key to it, as Mickey alluded to, is possession. When you do get the ball back off City, you've got to keep it, you've got to get your team up the pitch. And City are just waiting. They look more of a threat now. They've got a wide player that can actually go past somebody. That has certainly changed the dynamics of this game slightly. I still believe that Doku should be playing on the right-hand side, though, to face up against Darlow. So whether he'll change him in due course or not, who knows?
Well, I just wonder if they did make the switch, because within this run of the last few games where Wan-Bissaka and Darlow have nailed down the full-back positions, they haven't always played this way round. I'll come back to that in a moment. Alvarez, he's put it wide. Foden played him in. Alvarez took a touch, just tried to slot foot it past the advancing Onana, and he's missed the far post.
I'll tell you what, the quality on that pass from Foden, who slid it through two defenders, and Alvarez has been very, very lively since he's come on.
Let's get a very quick update from the Scottish Cup final at Hampden Park, David Tanner.
Uproar at Hampden, it's Celtic 0, Rangers 0, but Rangers had the ball in the back of the net. The referee gave the goal scored by Abdallah Sima, but the VAR indicated he should have a look at it. He looked at it, and it's been disallowed for a push, I think, on Joe Hart. So Abdallah Sima, half-time sub for Rangers, his goal is chucked off by VAR. It remains Celtic 0, Rangers 0.
David, thank you. It's 2-0 to Manchester United here, and we're approaching the midway stage of the second half. Ortega's got the ball at his feet inside the penalty area to our left. Clears it. Haaland being dealt with it very effectively by Martinez. Lost his balance. And Varane is able to mop up and get it back to Onana. Onana clears his lines. Stones come forward to meet it, then misjudged. Having done the hard work to get past McTominay, misjudged the flight of the ball. Dalot can come forward. Dalot, capable of the spectacular, goes for goal, drags it wide of the near post and out of play for a goal kick. We're going to see some action on the Manchester United bench, and interestingly, bearing in mind that they've had the success playing this way without a striker, they're going to bring a striker on. Højlund and Johnny Evans are the two United players getting ready.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Johnny Evans, they thought there's a slight niggle there. I don't know with who, one of the central defenders. I think Johnny Evans is ready, but I don't think they want to bring him on. Højlund, different matter. I'm surprised that they're bringing him on, to be fair. I would have stuck with what they're doing, but they've obviously feel very, very uncomfortable with the ascendancy of play from City.
The last 10 minutes have palpably been City's best of the game. Walker sends a really good crossfield ball out towards Doku, who controls the pass, lays it back towards the edge of the penalty area. Guardiola, and optimistic effort from Stones, who can't hide his dismay as he sends one way over the bar. And it goes out of play for a goal kick. I just wonder, it would be inevitable, I guess, Mickey, that Manchester United, after the way that they capitulated in the semi-final, late on here, later than this, and there were 3 goals up at this stage in that game, if they were to concede 1, whether they would feel that lightning might strike twice. It does feel, even though it's a 2-goal lead, it does feel as though the game is very precariously balanced.
Yeah, it does, Jim, you're right. And I think, dare I bring it up, that semi-final, it's about this time when things started to turn around in Coventry's favour. And I go back to when we were doing the build-up to the game. I said, if Man United can stick it out for 90, 120 minutes, whatever it's going to be, they have to work like they've done so far in the first 65, 66 minutes of this game to see it out. Because it's all City at the moment. They're the one who are creating the opportunities. And it feels like United are just hanging on right now.
City are able to head the ball away through the midfield. Foden comes to meet it. Amrabat runs into McTominay, but no harm done. They've maintained possession. Bruno Fernandes out towards the right-hand side. City's defensive line not pushing forward in unison there. Chance to deliver, and Ortega at the foot of his near post beats the effort away. Goes out for United's first corner of this second half. Right in front of you, Alex Crook.
And Bruno Fernandes about to take the corner, Jim, and he's just throwing his arms up in the air, asking for even more vocal encouragement from these Manchester United supporters behind me.
Varane comes across and has a word with those on the United bench. But he will now take up station inside the penalty area. Unmarked is coming in very deep towards the back post. And the corner was delivered in his direction. Not too far over his head from Bruno Fernandes. Rashford then catches Bernardo Silva. And then one of the Manchester United substitutes on this near side. Is it Evans? It's just a collision between Bernardo Silva and he. As Portuguese that bent down to try and pick the ball up. And Evans limps away. Bernardo helped him back to his feet, but it was a strange moment.
I've seen it all with Johnny Evans going to ground now on a challenge off the pitch. Goodness me. Johnny, come on.
There's Walker. Just outside his own penalty area. You never did that one.
And listen, Johnny Evans has got to be one of the last bastions of sensibility in the pro game, surely.
Bernardo Silva plays it back towards Akanji. Well, he could be an FA Cup winner again. He won it with Leicester. And they had the day of cup success here. Won the cup triumph in their history. And Johnny Evans part of that side. It was a big shot that day. The ball played inside the penalty area and the roll through past Varane towards Anana, who will bend down and pick the ball up. 20 minutes away in this one, with United still leading it by 2 goals to 0.
There's a couple of things I think that United have got in their favour from the semi-final, sort of when they started to get a bit milky about the in the Coventry game. A, they've got a game plan, and B, they got Martinez on the pitch as well, that's got a little bit of moral courage about him.
McTominay for Stones. Stones can play it forward through the midfield. Foden chipping one over the top. Wan-Bissaka stretched out a right leg and was just able to steer the ball away from Jeremy Doku. And it goes back towards Rafa Varane. Varane's long ball forward. Rashford is in there, he's battling, but he's lost out to Kyle Walker. 20 minutes to go. I think back 25 years this week to the real sliding doors moment in Manchester City's history, when at the old Wembley they were 2 down with no time remaining against Gillingham in that playoff final. Got the 2 goals, ended up winning it on penalties. Here's Jeremy Doku making his way forward now for City. He's taking a deflection and just fell behind Haaland. He'll go out of play for a corner, but if Haaland had been 6 inches behind where he was, he might have been able to adjust his feet to steer that into the net for 2-1.
Yeah, we're just looking at these 2 United subs who looked as though they're coming on the pitch in Johnny Evans and Højlund, but I think the manager, basically Ten Hag, doesn't actually want to make the change. I think it only might be an injury that forces him to make it, and I think I saw McTominay half limping earlier. Whether it be him or not, I don't know. Højlund's coming back, Evans is coming back now.
Yeah, they're removing their yellow bibs, which they've had on to differentiate them from the United players on the pitch, and so Højlund and Evans will both be on very shortly. Meanwhile, there's some treatment being administered inside the penalty area to Lisandro Martinez. Steve McLaren shielding his eyes from the sun, looking in that direction, trying to work out what's happening. Scott McTominay comes across to give a medical update. Evans and Højlund continue to get ready, and the 4th official, Simon Hooper, has got the numbers ball in his hands, and we understand it's going to be Rashford and Martinez who will be the players that make way.
Well, I think losing Martinez will be a massive blow for them. You know, I think he's played extremely well today. He's got know-how. He's dealt with Haaland extremely well. He's got himself in the right areas of the pitch. Rashford coming off. They just need someone to do more of a defensive shift, potentially.
So it'll be interesting to see exactly who goes where, whether they just play Højlund wide on the left-hand side. Now there's not a skirmish as such, but players from both teams are getting involved with each other. As Martinez has been led away, having received this treatment. Kyle Walker gave him a little shove goodbye on his way off the field, and understandably attracted the ire of a few United players. Walker just being calmed down now by the referee. Sofian Amrabat is there as well. There's still a few verbals going on between the pair of them. So the one change easy enough, Evans for Martinez, the other Højlund for Rashford. Sorry, Stuart.
Yeah, as I say, once again, Walker just pointing out the directive that we were told that players leaving the pitch go off at the nearest point has gone out the window at the end of the season.
Yeah, he could have made his way over the dead ball line, and that was the point that Kyle Walker was making. There's a big ovation for Marcus Rashford as he leaves the field. He's going to win the FA Cup for the second time in his career, 8 years after his first success. They've only won this competition once in 20 years, Manchester United, which was that 2016 success. They lead 2-0 here with 16 minutes to go. But it's Manchester City asking the pertinent questions. There's going to be a fair bit of stoppage time at the end of the 90 minutes. And City prepare to take a corner, which Phil Foden will swing in. So have United made the necessary adjustments with the substitutes on? Who's picking up who? In comes the corner. It's off the head of Dalot. Evans can't keep it in. It's gone out of play for another corner.
What I would say as well, if you went to ask Pep 5 minutes ago, you can take 2 Manchester United players off the pitch to make your life easier. 2 of them have probably just walked off the pitch now.
Yeah, Martinez for his defensive organisation and Rashford for his pace on the counter. In comes the latest corner. Now there's a big penalty shout there as Haaland attacked it. He got a touch on it which sent it wide, and he's claiming that he was on the way down when the ball got to him and that he was being hauled to the ground. VAR, Michael Oliver will be having a look at it, but the initial suggestion of the body language of the referee is that he feels that there's absolutely no case to answer here.
Well, I think there was some grappling going on. I would ask the question, why would... Let's have a look. That's a penalty, you know. He's holding him. He's holding him. For me, that's a penalty. You cannot be holding people in the box like that.
Well, Kobbie Mainoo was the Manchester United player involved. Has got away with it. The play has restarted. John Stones clears the ball. Doku cushioning it. Back out towards the left-hand side. Alvarez. A bundle of energy. Playing the ball back for Doku. Doku forced to wriggle away from Højlund. Plays the way that he's facing back for Akanji. Stones can bring it forward here for Manchester City. Walker making ground on his right-hand side. Bernardo Silva still keeping the width right out on the touchline, and Doku likewise on the left. Ball's worked via Foden back for Akanji, and now to Gvardiol. Out it goes towards Doku, who can renew his acquaintance here with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Garnacho again doing a good job to come tag team with the former Palace fullback. Rodri, a little reverse ball from him. Corner the penalty area, Alvarez finds Doku. 2-0 to United in the cup final here on Talksport. Time very much against City. 14 minutes to go. They need 2 unanswered goals to keep their double-double dream alive. Akanji. It's Walker from distance. Good save. Haaland can't get to the follow-up. McTominay read it and will turn it clear. Offside flag up actually against Haaland. The initial one would have counted. And Walker, who came close a few minutes ago, hit an arrowing shot towards the bottom left-hand corner. And Onana did well to get down and palm it away.
Yeah, the one thing you do know in this game, if City score any time before 30 seconds to go of normal play or extra time, they'll fancy their chances of winning it. That's how good they are, this team. So don't write them off as yet.
Well, Manchester United lost to Copenhagen in the Champions League earlier this season from 2-0. As we've talked about many times, they were a 3-0 lead here in the FA Cup semi-final against Coventry. Got away with that by winning on penalties, and is that the passport to this unlikely success? Absolutely superb in the first 45 minutes, Manchester United. City at play running the second half without finding a way through. They've hit the bar, it's the closest they've come. Doku wriggling across the edge of the area, wins a free kick. There were men in red having a nibble at him every step of the way. It might have been Amrabat that got him, but it's a free kick to City, 4 yards outside the penalty area, right of centre.
It does make you wonder how that's given us a free kick, yet in the box slightly earlier when you're waltzing with somebody and grappling that it isn't.
Well, this position here is what they've been waiting for, City, isn't it? You probably wanted Kevin De Bruyne on the pitch to maybe take this free kick, Jim, but I've got to say, and Doku he got a bit of joy there, but for the life of me I can't understand, and I think you touched on it, Stuart, why he's not being brought over to this right-hand side, because he's getting nothing out of Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka has been absolutely phenomenal today. As a defender and a fullback, watching his positional play and where to show a wide player is a work of art.
I mean, you would be moving him to his weaker side, but I think the Wan-Bissaka would just follow him. I think that they would swap flanks. And I think if Doku came over to the right-hand side, but I'm surprised that they haven't tried him. And Doku has been on for 33 minutes. Meanwhile, Manchester City have the opportunity from this free kick, which Foden and Alvarez appear to be orchestrating. Foden has spotted the ball down. United have 4 in a wall. There's then a little gap, and then Bruno Fernandes in from Foden into the quintet, defending for Manchester United inside the penalty area. And then Wan-Bissaka might be able to lead the counter-attack playing it forward, but he couldn't feed Højlund, that knows how to play for a throw.
Jim, sorry, Stuart. What I was touching on Wan-Bissaka there as well. We've seen so many times throughout this season wide players getting shown inside onto their strong foot and whipping those balls into the top corner. I've yet to see, apart from what I'm seeing in front of me today, in Wan-Bissaka's performance, a fullback dictating to a wide player and saying, come on, there's the line, you go and kick that ball down the line and see if you can get it. He's been absolutely phenomenal.
Højlund has been brought down at the other end. And this is a free kick to Manchester United, about 4 yards outside the box, and it's a moment that's been greeted like a goal by some of the United fans in front of us. They sense now that they are getting close. By the time this free kick is taken, they will be in the last 10 minutes. They still lead by 2 goals to nil. Garnacho and Mainu, both 19 years of age, and both on the score sheet in a 9-minute spell just after the half hour. Bruno Fernandes standing over this free kick. The angle not as favourable for this attempt as it was for the Foden effort at the other end a minute or so ago. This one is much closer to the right-hand edge of the penalty area.
I think he'll be standing this up to McTominay at the far post would be the ball I would play.
It's not the ball that he would play. He drove it in with pace, hoping it was going to bobble off Ortega for Johnny Evans to get on the loose pickings, and it was a waste.
Yeah, it was a waste. As I say, he was hoping for the little bobble in front of Ortega. That was not forthcoming.
2-0 to United. Rodri. Into the feet of Alvarez and straight back for Rodri again. And then Alvarez's subsequent layoff rolls away from Bernardo Silva. He's got time to come back and rescue it. Silva playing it in. It's played in then inside the penalty area by Rodri. Amrabat doing a good defensive job, so able to get it away. Walker will be able to pick it up. Here is Doku on the right flank now for Manchester City. Has switched for a moment, taking on Dalot, getting to the byline, pulling it back to the edge of the 6, and out for another City corner. It is their 6th of the last 25 minutes.
Yeah, as I say, they just need something to drop from City at the moment. There's been a couple of attempts that have been bouncing around the box that is just not fell for a clean finish.
In comes the corner from Foden, a left-footed in-swing, paddled away by Anana. Did well to get a strong top hand to that to clear. Out on the left-hand side for City, it's worked back in. That should be Anana, should have caught it, and he elected to punch. Højlund can acrobatically help it further clear from the edge of his own penalty area, and then when they release Garnacho, the United fans again get to their feet, believing that the counter could be on. Walker's left Garnacho on the deck. It's going to be a throw, I think, rather than a free kick over on that far touchline. 8 minutes of normal time remaining.
Yeah, as I say, Garnacho, he'll see this one out. He'll try and get the trainer on, and breaking up play is United's strongest card at the moment.
Just doing everything they can to keep the ball in play for as little time as possible. Theory, of course, being that all the time will be added on, but just in breaking it up, making the game increasingly fragmented and as stop-start as possible is definitely going to be playing into Manchester United's hands. Now, the second time in FA Cup history the final's been a repeat of the previous season. The last one, Blackburn against the Scottish club Queen's Park back in the 1880s. And there was no revenge back then. Blackburn won the first one 2-1 and then won more comfortably the following year. But revenge very much on the agenda for United here. Long free kick swung in, Varane heading it down and coming to meet it, but in an offside position, Johnny Evans. And it's going to be a free kick which will be taken by Ortega away to our left-hand side. 7 minutes to go. Let's rejoin Talksport senior football correspondent Alex Crook behind Ortega's goal. Alex?
And I tell you what, 7 minutes feeling like a lifetime to these Manchester United fans. They are kicking every ball. They've had to watch wave after wave of City attack. And until it gets into the 90th minute, I don't think they'll start to believe the cup is going back to Old Trafford. Tense times back here right now.
How does Pep change this in City's favour? Because for all the possession they've had, they're still not creating that many chances.
I think it's out of his hands at the moment, apart from maybe swapping Doku's wings over and see if it can ever go this side. But at this moment, something's just got to fall for him. I don't think tactically they can do much. United will carry on doing more of the same, break the game up if they possibly can, and things are just not falling for him at the moment.
Well, City in the Wembley sunshine need their Paul Dickoff moment again. He is here today. Ball is cleared from our left-hand side by Ortega. Launched high up into the sky. Alvarez is battling with it along with Kobbie Mainoo. What a day for him. If United end up on the winning side, he's written his place in the club's history. The youngest scorer of an FA Cup final goal for 60 years. Amrabat. The last game of his United career as well. He mops up and lays the ball back for Onana. Onana, who won a Dutch Cup back in his Ajax days, clearing the ball upfield. Headed down by Akanji. Doku is in there battling, wins a free kick. City in a hurry to take it. Højlund doing enough to stop that happening without making it look as though he was stopping it happening. Bernardo Silva will control the ball in the midfield and bring it forward. We're in the 86th minute. City 0, United 2. Foden trying to get away from Amrabat and has won a free kick in the central position, but it's 14 yards outside the penalty area.
Yeah, they just need something to fall for them, a ball in the box, a cross that just drops to a player. And at the moment, the longer this game goes on, United are getting comfortable in holding on to this lead. Well organised, well drilled, and it's paid dividends.
A crowd of a little less than 85,000, and truth be told, I don't think many of them would have seen this FA Cup final unfolding in the way that it has so far. United getting ever closer to winning the FA Cup for the 13th time in their history. A double-double, dream could be over. Ball played inside the 6-yard box, it's knocked away by the United back line. Only as far as Alvarez. Alvarez taking on towards the edge of the penalty area, setting it up for Foden. Too much work for Phil Foden to do from distance, so he plays the ball out towards Jeremy Doku. Doku on the edge of the area. It's gone a long way through, and there's one back for Manchester City. And now it is game on with not much time to go. Manchester City back in the game. Jeremy Doku off the bench and on the score sheet. And with 3.5 to go, here is a test of United's resilience and nerve. It's 2-1.
Well, when you say that something needs to fall to him, Garnacho fronting Doku up and not Wan-Bissaka, that was the first thing. Second thing, Onana not happy with his contribution, beaten on his near post, and the frustration on his face tells you everything. He should have done a hell of a lot better. Anything can happen now.
2-1. And the United players wouldn't be human if it wasn't going through their minds exactly what happened the last time they were here. Well,
I think what you've just seen, Jim, is a wide player being a little bit naive. Touched on Wan-Bissaka showing Jeremy Doku where he wanted to, which is on his weak left foot down the line. Garnacho just thought he was in a good position, but because Doku's feet are so quick and he's got that little burst over 4 or 5 yards, he got that little space that he needed to get his shot away. And you're right, Onana's got to do better. Look, he might hurt himself as he dives into that post over on the far right-hand side, but that's what you have to do. You've got to put your body on the line at times in games like this just to see it out.
2.5 minutes of normal time to go. My guess is at least 5 minutes of stoppage time. It could be more than that. Plenty of time for Manchester City yet. And here's Doku again, left-hand side of the penalty area, getting the ball in. It might break Foden's way. Dalot hammers it clear. And we're hearing that there will be 6 added minutes. So 8 minutes left for Manchester City to find an equaliser to take it to extra time. Doku once more inside the penalty area. Blocked by Amrabat. Garnacho hammers it high up in the air. City will try and bring it down. And United desperately doing everything they can to get the ball out of their own half. And they can't manage that. So City will come back again. Swathes of light blue going from left to right. Kyle Walker chipping the ball out towards Doku again. Doku with another opportunity to try and take on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, pulling it back to the edge of the penalty area. Phil Foden with the layoff, but misdirected. Pep throws his hands up in dismay. City will be able to come again. It's only cost him a couple of seconds. Doku, Foden trying to clip it in. Alvarez is there. Kanji cushions a little header down. Walker goes all the way back to his goalkeeper Ortega, and we're in the 90th minute.
Yeah, we are. City pushing, asking questions, but United standing firm at the moment. They need to keep supplying Doku with the ball. He's probably been the most effective player for United, for City in an advanced area, and he hasn't been on 45 minutes as yet.
Akanji, Rodri, back out towards Jeremy Doku. That supply line continues. Here's Akanji from distance, right-footed, way over the bar. United will be more than happy to see efforts pepper the fans from distance. What's the mood in that United crowd behind you, Alex Crook?
Well, I have to say, Jim, after that City goal went in, it's the loudest that the City fans at the far end have been all afternoon. Lots of now biting going on behind me. 6 minutes remaining. They don't know that yet. United would love to take 6 minutes over this goal kick.
Well, he's gone up to 7 because they have been taking a little bit of extra time. So we are now playing 7 minutes of stoppage time. And there was a yellow card shown to, I think it was Rodolfo Burrell on the Manchester City bench there. He's certainly one of Pep's trusted lieutenants. Victor Lindelof's going to be coming on for United. Another defensive body. Mason Mount as well gets ready for action. So 2 players who hardly seen the light of day recently, both declared fit for the final. Both will be on in a moment. It's 2-1 United. We're in stoppage time. Garnacho. He's got a corner. I must admit, I thought when Garnacho cleared it, well, the decision has been reversed. The Garnacho's clearance hit Akanji and came back into Garnacho and out of play. That's how the officials saw it, and City will bring it forward. 6 minutes of added time to go. It's going to be late and dramatic if City can remedy this, but you wouldn't bet against them. Manchester City bring it forward with Stones. Stones in the central area. Out towards Jeremy Doku again. Doku has spent so many moments of the second half in this exact same position, trying to take on Wan-Bissaka and Garnacho. On that occasion, he tried to take him on the outside, and Wan-Bissaka slightly mistimed his lunge, but he got enough on the ball to steer it away and Africa got for
what
a corner.
United need to do now is double up in front of Wan-Bissaka, get Garnacho off and get Lindelof or anybody out there with a defensive mentality.
I think Garnacho will be off in a moment. In comes the corner, straight into the hands of Onana. Another massive cheer from the United supporters.
Oh, well, I mean, he's not going to be in no rush here, Jim, is he, Onana? You can see he's just lay on the ground, but they've got to get these players on. McTominay is limping around. He's just got nothing left. He's obviously taken a knock. They've got to get him off the pitch at some point. But United have just got to try and keep that ball away from their goal as much as they possibly can and just keep ticking these seconds, never mind minutes away.
5 minutes of stoppage time to go. It will be extended by the United double change, which can happen now as the ball has gone out of play for a City throw. So Garnacho is coming off and Victor Lindelof is going to come on to replace him. So that was the change prescribed by Stuart Pearce. And the other one, see McTominay replaced by Mason Mount, who's been a runner-up in the FA Cup in 3 of the last 4 years, 20, 21 and 22. The change is being made, and a late goal at Hampden Park. David Tanner.
90 minutes gone. It's Celtic 1, Rangers 0. Adam Ida got the ball in the back of the net. It was a counter-attack. Celtic's only real chance in the second half. They have been awful, but it's the big man on loan from Norwich who looks to have won the cup in the final minute. Celtic 1, Rangers 0.
Looks as though it's going Celtic's way. It could be going Manchester United's way here. They've made the double change. 4.5 minutes of added time to go. 2-1 they lead Manchester City. Amrabat trying to make a challenge, couldn't get the timing right. But Mainoo's going to be able to bring it away on the edge of his own penalty area. Slipping it forward for McTominay, and he will get there first ahead of Akanji. Hoyland now taking over. Hoyland going back towards halfway for Amrabat. Amrabat taking a touch, and he will work it back for Wan-Bissaka, and he in turn goes back for Victor Lindelof on the edge of his own penalty area, and it'll be clattered upfield, left-footed by Onana. 2-1, City need to score. Hoyland chesting it down, Foden trying to take it on, Amrabat getting it away. United win it back on halfway. Bruno Fernandes seeing Ortega a long way out, goes for goal, misses, and the ball goes out of play for a goal kick.
Rather intelligent play there from McTominay, who was behind the goal. Ball's gone straight into his hands. He's thrown it on the pitch as Ortega went to get another one. And this, it will seem like an eternity to Manchester United. The clock ticking down for City. It will absolutely fly by.
So probably just a shade over 3 additional minutes left to play. Kyle Walker. Walker to Akanji inside the centre circle. Now Rodri can bring the ball forward for Manchester City, trailing 2-1. Hopes of retaining the FA Cup entirely dependent on them finding a goal in the 3 minutes or so that remain. Akanji to Kyle Walker, who's come close-ish on a couple of occasions already. Down he comes for Bernardo Silva, right-hand side of the penalty area. Silva trying to work the angle for a cross. When he does come in, it's blocked by Bruno Fernandes. Comes out towards Akanji, and he will work it forward again. Gvardiol's got it. Better in the second half than he was the first. He goes back for Akanji. Space on the City right for Bernardo Silva. They played him in. Silva bringing it forward. Right-hand side of the penalty area again as he won a corner. No, it's going to be a goal kick because there's the spin that was imparted on the ball. It just took it into the chest of Stones. It's hit him and gone out of play for a goal kick. And United are very nearly there.
Yeah, they certainly are. John Stones got to do a lot better there, but they're just suffering at the moment. They're having plenty of the ball in a sort of shield in and around and outside everywhere, but they can't get the ball in the box and can't create any clear-cut chances at present.
United fans doing their best to sing the side home. Onana clears. Hoyland going up for it. Nodded down by Stones. Work back by Foden. Akanji playing it forward. We are in the final minute of the prescribed 7 of added time here on Talksport. The FA Cup final going Manchester United's way unless and City will bring the ball forward here to the corner of the penalty area. Work back out towards Doku. Doku faced up by Wan-Bissaka, sending it in. Haaland coming round the back. It has been kept alive dramatically by Bernardo Silva. Walker coming onto it. A little bit of pinball. Haaland heads it down. United clear towards halfway. And Hoyland will chase after it and has got there first ahead of Alvarez. And he's got so much support coming to his right. He's played in Amrabat. And And the referee has given a free kick to Manchester United. He waited to see if there was an advantage. There wasn't. And I think one United fan thought that the full-time whistle had blown and has made his way onto the pitch, camera phone in hand, and the United players wave him away. But there are seconds remaining. They are so close. So close. Bruno Fernandes to take this free kick for Manchester United. The way he set it up makes it look as though he's going to whack this towards goal from 40 yards. That will not happen. He's chipped it down towards the corner flag, and it's over. Manchester United win the FA Cup, and seldom will lifting the trophy have ever been sweeter than this. It's a day to remember amidst the wreckage of a season of disappointment. The Reds defying the odds and denying the neighbours their place in history. The double-double goes up in smoke. Manchester United 8-1 to get the job done in 90 minutes. And two teenagers have come through for them. Garnacho and Mainu in a devastating 9-minute spell in the first half. That, a lead that was enough to protect. Jeremy Doku gave them a late scare, but United have hung on. And in a season in which they've been miles adrift of Manchester City in nearly every department, they have come good in the Wembley sunshine. And if Erik ten Hag is to leave, he does so having delivered silverware in both of his seasons in charge. Very, very few people saw this coming. Manchester City's double thought by many to be a formality, but it's a teenage double in the first half that has denied them. The 143rd FA Cup final finishes Manchester United 2, Manchester City 1.
Well, United win it. This may not be the Fergie glory era for the Red Devils. They may have finished bottom of their Champions League group. They lost 14 of 38 Premier League games. They finished 8th as their lowest ever Premier League position. But this means the world to every single Manchester United fan holding the flags aloft and celebrating right now. To come up with a game plan to outwit Pep Guardiola in the first half, and then to cling on for dear life in the second half and beat one of the greatest club sides we've ever seen. That's sweet. Manchester may well have been blue for a while now. 4 successive titles, a treble last season. That's what City have done. But United have stumbled and struggled in the dark for years while that glory's been happening at the Etihad. But this cup final means so much. It's one game, but what a game to win. United have had very little to brag about. But this FA Cup success is special, given the football landscape, given the narrative of the day. Ten Hag to leave after this game, City going for a double-double, and yet from nowhere, Manchester United found a way to beat the rivals and step out of the modern-day shadow. It's United's day. They deserve it. Mainu and Garnacho arm in arm after the game, celebrating with the fans. The kids did it. Teenage kicks. And it may not be a Premier League title. It may not be a Champions League title. But this is the one Manchester United wanted to win. And they've only gone and done it. Manchester United winning the FA Cup, beating City by 2-1. And those Red supporters are going to be enjoying every single second of this. They're not going to let City fans forget it. The rivalry is very much, truly alive. And you have to say, Stuart Pearce, what a way to win. It was two sides of United today, wasn't it? The brilliant game plan first half, and then defensive strength in the second half. We questioned even Ten Hag's subs in that second half, but it just about worked.
Yeah, I'm not sure he actually wanted to make the subs, if I'm being honest with you. I think it was forced upon him. Tactically, he's got to take all the plaudits for me. I think the way he set his team up, the ways he looked at City and thought, if they come through the centre of us, we're done. They said, go outside us. You've got to look at City as well and say, Diaz and Akanji on the bench probably wasn't the best way forward. And no Doku in that wide area. When he come on, you saw the difference he made, and he was up against an outstanding fullback in Wan-Bissaka. Both of them played extremely well, which is a bizarre thing for me to say. The winger did and the fullback did. But the bottom line is, everything, all roads point back to Ten Hag for me and his tactical lineup.
Has to take all of the credit. I've got to say, Mickey Gray, there was no intervention from VAR. There could well have been on a number of occasions, but I'm pleased there was. I'm also pleased that Kobbie Mainoo's day wasn't spoiled when it looked like he'd given away a penalty against Haaland, because I thought not just his goal, but I thought Mainoo was everywhere. I thought he was superb today. You can see why I think he's going to be an England regular for many years to come.
Well, topped off with a man of the match performance, Adrian. I think it came on the Tanio a couple of minutes before the end of the game, and he was outstanding today. A real experienced performance from a young man, and he got his goal to boot as well. It was just absolutely outstanding. And look, I have to say, I think it's really difficult to pick one individual player from that Manchester United starting 11, because they've all went out there and they all had a job to do, and they've done it absolutely fantastically well. And I think that's credit to the manager and the coach and staff at Manchester United, because look, it was backs against the wall before this game started here against Man City. No one gave them a prayer. You just have to have a look at the odds in the game. But the way that he set them up in the first half was absolutely fantastic. I did not expect to see that. Bruno Fernandes ahead of Scott McTominay, basically playing a game without a centre forward. Haaland, when he came on, came back into a midfield position, but I just thought tactically first half was fantastic, and then to show the resilience that they had to in that second 45 minutes, absolutely outstanding.
Well, for large parts of that game, Manchester City unrecognisable. A lot of their fans have left, which is what happens to the losers on FA Cup final day. Some have stayed behind, and the City players are in that half of the pitch acknowledging their support, but it's away to our left where it's a sea of red and white, where Manchester United players and fans are celebrating alike. And in amongst it is Alex Crook. What's happening, Alex?
Oh, absolutely amazing scenes at this end of the ground, Adrian. None of the Manchester United fans are leaving any time soon. The United players, some of them, Johnny Evans amongst them, have picked up those red flags that all the United fans were given. They're waving them in the air. Harry Maguire, of course, didn't quite win his fitness battle, is out soaking up the scenes. But I tell you who's leading the celebrations. He was the leader on the pitch for me today. Lisandro Martinez is milking every moment. He's embracing Anthony, who joined me. I've seen Diogo Dalot, the Players' Player of the Year, fist pumping the Manchester United fans. And I have to say, even some of those players in red look a little bit surprised at what they've managed to achieve this afternoon. Everybody came here expecting Manchester City to complete the double as Andre Onana, the United goalkeeper, hurdles the advertising hoardings behind me and celebrates with the United fans. But Wembley is very much a sea of red. The Manchester City end is rapidly emptying. And is it a good time to remind you and Jim Proudfoot, you both laughed at me, my prediction, Manchester United 2, Manchester City 1.
It was a ridiculous prediction, but who knew he was going to come up with a game plan like this? Who knew that City would pick that team today? It's an extraordinary FA Cup final, one I think that will be remembered for a long, long time. Varane and Dalot over there doing the Klopp punches to the crowd, which is prolonged. It wasn't just three of them like Klopp does. They went on and on and on. Smiles on the faces of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Prince of Wales as well. Eric Ten Hag with Luke Shaw, who would love to have been playing in this, but injury has robbed him of a season, basically. What a moment, Alex, for Eric Ten Hag. If he is to go, what a way to go.
Absolutely, and again, I mentioned it before the game, you have to praise the Manchester United manager. He batted away question after question about his future. Even speaking immediately before kick-off, he was saying, this is not about me this afternoon, it's about Manchester United trying to put a trophy in the cabinet to salvage what, by his own admission, has been an entirely rubbish season to this point. And he's out there, I can see him, he's only, 15 yards or so in front of me now. He's got a big smile on his face. He's taking it all in. But of course, Louis van Gaal was fired after winning the FA Cup. The atmosphere now feels very different to back in 2016. I mentioned it before kick-off. These Manchester United fans very much are behind their manager. I do think Sir Jim Ratcliffe's decision has just been made that much more difficult.
Well, interesting that Sir Dave Brailsford and Jim Ratcliffe talking to each other, and then Dave Brailsford realised there was a camera on him, so covered his mouth, and you wonder what on earth was said. Does this game plan, Alex, that Ten Hag has had today, plus the fact they've seen it through and won the FA Cup this isn't against nobody, this is against Manchester City. Does this give Eric Ten Hag a future? Does it give Brailsford and Sir Jim Ratcliffe food for thought on the decision, or has that already been made, do you think?
Well, the narrative coming out of Manchester United is that his future would not be decided today, so that suggests it probably has already been made. It's been made over the course of what's happened in the regular season. But I think Ten Hag is making a case to stay. I've just seen Steve McLaren, by the way, jump into the arms of Anthony. I'm not sure someone of his age should be doing that. But he would say, this is what I can do when I've got all the tools at my disposal. You give me my 2 first-choice central defenders and I'll come up with a game plan to stifle the greatest number 9 on the planet at this moment in time. You give me legs in midfield and I'll find a game plan to take the match to Manchester City that first half. You give me a fully fit Marcus Rashford, who I thought was probably better this afternoon than he's been at any point this season, and will cause defences problems. So I think certainly he comes away from today, whatever happens next, with an awful lot of positives.
Pep Guardiola, a little smile on his face. He is shaking hands with the opponents, classy as ever, as the Man City players wait around on the pitch. They'll be going up to get their losers' medals, and Manchester United will be going about for them to collect the FA Cup. It all, of course, means that Manchester United will be in the Europa League next season with Spurs, and Chelsea will be in the Europa Conference League next season, and means there's no European football for Newcastle United next season. Now we've got full time in the Scottish Cup at Hampden Park. David Tanner.
And it's finished. Celtic 1, Rangers 0. Celtic have won the double by clinching the Scottish Cup for the 42nd time in their history. They won it with a 90th minute goal through Irishman Adam Ida. Celtic reserved one of their poorest performances of the season. At one point, Callum McGregor was very visible when he said, "Keep the ball," to his teammates. Rangers actually thought they'd taken the lead after an hour. It was a corner kick. Joe Hart missed it, but VAR had spotted a push, and Abdallah Sima's goal was disallowed. Celtic's winner came with only their only real effort at goal in the second half. 2 subs made it. Paolo Bernardo's shot was spilled by Jack Butland. Adam Ida pounced. Rangers rebuild starts now. Joe Hart retires from football with a double. It's finished Celtic 1, Rangers 0.
And Celtic champions and now Scottish Cup winners. Rangers with just the Scottish League Cup this season to round off the season for all the big boys in Scotland. Still playoffs to go in terms of relegation and promotion. Back here at Wembley, the City and United players shaking hands. May not have been very sportsmanlike on the pitch during the game at times, but afterwards it's all handshakes and congratulations and well done to you. Just a reminder, when we were here for the Carabao Cup win for Manchester United last season, Eric Ten Hag said after the game that he told Kobbie Mainoo, who was 17 at the time, they will win trophies together. And here we are, a year and a bit later, and 19-year-old Kobbie Mainoo scores a goal in a Manchester Derby FA Cup final to lift even more silverware. And I tell you what, Mickey Gray, Kobbie Mainoo must be thinking this football game's easy. 2 trophies. I mean, listen, he's been brilliant today. I'm so excited about this kid's future. I can barely express it in words. So good.
Well, there's a long way to go in his career, Adrian, isn't it? And I think along the way he's going to pick up a lot of silverware. But I think, as the years go by, he'll be thinking about the Premier League title, because he's that good. He needs to be in a winning side week in, week out. I mean, his performance today was absolutely stellar. It was. And what we're seeing in front of us right now is the United and City players have all went across to each other. The City players congratulating the United players, which is great to see. The rivalry on the pitch, that's never going to go. 100%, but full credit to both sets of players. You know, they give absolutely everything out there today, and I thought it was an absolutely outstanding FA Cup final, I have to say.
I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It had so much jeopardy involved in it. Stuart Pearce, I want to ask you a quick question, because we are saying farewell as City climb the steps, led by Carl Walker, to get their losers' medals. We're saying farewell to an amazing record. Rodri's unbeaten record in 90 minutes comes to an end. It's been going on for years, basically. He's finally in a City shirt, started a game and lost a game in 90 minutes. What a record it's been for Rodri. What a player.
Well, exactly that. What a player, what a record. And listen, he's been one of the main reasons Man City have been the powerhouse they have over recent years. But today it wasn't to be. They made mistakes. I think, and I've never ever said this before in my whole life, I think their manager made a mistake as well, maybe with his team selection, and maybe we're not getting Doku on sooner rather than later. And
keeping him on the left-hand side, even though that's where he scored. But what he'd done was, he kind of got into a position where Garnacho was in front of him. There was an overlap, so Wan-Bissaka had to look after that. It's a shot, though, that Onana should keep out, isn't it?
With 100%. He made a brilliant save from Walker earlier, but the turning point, when you look back, and I thought it at the time, Haaland hitting the underside of the bar, if that rattles in, I think we're in extra time now.
Alvarez had a couple of chances as well, but really wasn't on form, and you wonder if he's had the game time to, get into the swing of things. But it's not really about Man City, this. I think it's about Manchester United and Ten Hag, and about the youngsters scoring goals. I mean, they would have listened to Ten Hag's game plan, Mickey Gray, and soaked it all up and thought, yeah, we'll go with this, and executed it perfectly. I mean, the way Garnacho was prepared to take on the long ball, receive it, and do what he did with it, I just thought it was just magnificent. This is a Manchester United side, yeah, they've been in the doldrums, but the future looks bright with these youngsters.
Do you know what they did today, Adrian, which I've not seen too many times this season? They did the hard yards, and I think Garnacho got his just rewards for that. Maybe just the impact of reacting towards what he thought was going to happen. Gvardiol heading the ball back to his goalkeeper coming off his line and just popping the ball into the back of the net. If you don't put the hard yards in and get yourself into that position, that ball doesn't end up in the back of the net, and I think that's been United's problem throughout many games this season. Mainu, absolutely outstanding. I talked about it was experienced players. It felt like there was experienced players out there knowing the game, but it's okay knowing the tactics when you go out there, but as you just said, they're executing them against a side like Manchester City is such a hard thing to do. I think what you will see after this game is, as well, a lot of Premier League managers, they'll be looking at the way that United set them going, well, hang on a minute, that worked. Maybe that's one way of stopping them.
Well, it's about time, long overdue, that teams, instead of waving a white flag before kick-off, actually give it a go against Manchester City. The City players, all credit to them, have formed a tunnel, a guard of honour for the Manchester United players, who are now making their way up the steps to receive their medals and the FA Cup trophy as well. Nice touch from Manchester City. Didn't have to do it, they have done it. That's class from the champions. But this is Manchester United's moment. The Reds have only gone and won the cup against Manchester City. What a day for every Manchester United fan. And as they make their way up the steps, we'll bring you that trophy lift with your commentator, Jim Proudfoot.
Well, 732 teams set out on the road to Wembley. The first ties played back on August the 4th. A victorious night for the likes of Skelmersdale, Studley and Moneyfields. And what a journey it's been. History for the likes of Maidstone, whose journey from Tier 6 to Round 5 via Ipswich captivated hearts. A weekend of epic quarter-finals for the ages at Molineux and Old Trafford. And Coventry, whose most extraordinary semi-final comeback was thwarted by millimetres and penalties. A multitude of captivating storylines confirming this great competition's return to the rudest of health, even amidst the power brokers' clamour for change. But one by one, the vanquished have departed, leaving only one to take the famous walk up the Wembley steps, their ribbons adorning the oldest trophy in the game. And those ribbons are red, because even to the end, to its 731st tie of the season, the FA Cup maintained the ability to shock and enthrall. Manchester United, the last one standing, their name inscribed on the cup for a 13th time, but the circumstances have surely barely been sweeter. Derby Day, their day, vanquishing the old foe to deny them the double-double. Revenge for 12 months ago. Some solace for a season of disappointment. A season that saw United concede more goals than they have for 60 years. A season that saw a nervy day at Newport, almost a catastrophic collapse against Coventry, but which ends with Wembley glory against the odds and a triumph to savour. It also ends with United in Europe after all, as Newcastle miss out. It's the first time since 1957 that a side that the champions have lost an FA Cup final to a team that's finished outside the top 7. Will it be the day that starts the United Renaissance? And if this is to be top scenes and Afshai to Erik ten Hag, he will leave having delivered major silverware in each of his seasons in charge. He will be the first United boss for whom that will be the case. The last man up is Bruno Fernandes, just walking behind the injured Harry Maguire, who wasn't in a position to take any part on the field today. And Bruno Fernandes, the man with the eyes for the prize. The vast majority of his teammates have been handed their gold medals. Rasmus Højlund standing, fist clenched, leaning over the balcony. Every Manchester United player waiting for the moment. And what a day for those in the baby trinity as well, two of whom have scored the goals. For only the second time in 20 years it is United's Cup. The victory enhanced by the identity of the opposition. A day of red Mancunian pride. A double-double denied. The winners of the 2024 FA Cup, Manchester United.
And who would have thought it? Honestly, to predict that's something else. It was pure hope, pure sentiment. You couldn't base it on anything. But Erik ten Hag had something up his sleeve, and those who've criticised him, and understandably so, given how bad they were in the Champions League, given how low they finished in the Premier League this season, losing 14 of 38 Premier League games. Maybe they've got to think again and reevaluate this manager, Erik ten Hag, who's next to Onana at the end of the line as the cup's getting passed along, lifted by everybody in this Manchester United squad. Big smile for Sir Alex Ferguson, who's looking on. He knows what this feeling's like. And he's loving every minute of it as well. Martinez lifting the FA Cup. And what an important role he played. Thrusts it to the air numerous times. Thought he was going to let go of it then. Could have been disaster. Christian Eriksen has not played as big a part this season as he may have done. Lindelof is in there as well. And these Manchester United players end the season on a high, as do the fans who are singing Glory, Glory, Man United. One half of Wembley's empty, the other half is still full of red and white Manchester United fans who are loving every single second. You know, it's not just winning the FA Cup, it's winning it against Manchester City that's done it for them. And I have to go back to that Louis van Gaal win, 2016. It was a first FA Cup win for Wayne Rooney and Michael Carrick and the likes. They hadn't won it before. They were desperate to win it. Anybody who doubts the FA Cup, you're completely wrong. You're completely and utterly wrong. Players love it. Fans love it. Football still loves the FA Cup. And that love ain't going to die anytime soon. You can stop all of your replays if you like, but we're still going to love the FA Cup as the United players, Erik ten Hag with the trophy clutched close to his chest, just past our commentary position here for Talksport, with the players following him. Anthony behind Christian Eriksen, making their way back out onto the pitch where the celebrations will continue. Lisandro Martinez fit at just the right time at the end of the season for this trophy. Safyan Amrabat has had a really good couple of games. Kobbie Mainoo alongside him in centre mid, doing so well. Højlund with the top of the cup on the top of his head. Would have been disappointed not to start today, but so happy to be an FA Cup winner. right now. Casemiro, injured, was going to be on the bench, but left out in the end after pulling the muscle as Erik ten Hag makes his way onto the pitch. He ain't going to be letting that FA Cup go. And you know what, Mickey Gray, normally it's managers who let the players keep hold of the cup and take it onto the pitch. I'm wondering if him grabbing hold of that cup and cherishing that cup tells us everything we need to know about his future.
It's going to be an interesting 24, 48 hours, Adrian, isn't it, for Erik ten Hag and Manchester United, of what the future is for the manager and the club moving forward. These celebrations are going to go on through the night, aren't they? There's no doubt about that. And maybe a lot of Manchester United supporters who came in the stadium today are still shocked and surprised that they're actually walking and parading that FA Cup, but they deserved it, every single one of them. What an outstanding performance it really was. I mean, to show the resilience was absolutely incredible. You know, you talk about Erik ten Hag coming down the steps with a trophy there. He never looks for the adulation, it's always the players. I know they've not had a lot of success, the EFL Cup last season and the FA Cup, but you'd see other managers that would probably do a parade around the stadium, you know, and they'd be doing it for 15, 20 minutes. He doesn't. He shoves the players towards the supporters. It's all about them. You see him now, look, underneath the winners, where they've got the trophy. He doesn't want to be a part of it. You know, his job's just to set the team up, and then everything else seems to be about the players. He doesn't want to be in the limelight and nothing like that. He just wants to be a manager, and I think that's fantastic.
Well, it's 3 weeks or so ago that Erik ten Hag was speaking to me after Manchester United had been crushed by Crystal Palace 4-0. He didn't seem to have the answers then, but he had them today as the silver streamers are sprayed into the air, as the rockets go off, as the smoke goes high into the Wembley air, and Manchester United celebrate down on the pitch in front of their fans, lifting the FA Cup trophy high above their heads. What a moment for them. This is 8th place. Manchester United finished 31 points behind Manchester City, but they found a way to beat the champions. They found a way to get one over on their rivals, and they found a way to win the FA Cup in 2024 live on Talksport. Manchester United have done it, and I think Mickey was right. These celebrations ain't going to be stopping any time soon. And I think Stuart Pearce, because it's City and because a lot of people have written, ourselves included really, have written United off this afternoon, I think it means even more to Man United players, manager and their fans that nobody really fancied them, but they've gone and beaten the champions, arguably the best side we've seen for decades.
If ever a football club needed a lift of an occasion like this, it's Manchester United. I've just seen the smile on Alex Ferguson's face, you know what I mean? He's so proud of this. This is what he created. This is his legacy, to be quite honest with you, and what he's created. The manager has been on the back foot most of the seasons with some of the questions from the media, but he set his team up there, and he should rightly go home tonight, whether he likes a drink, a cup of tea, a cappuccino, or whatever it is, and be really proud of the job that he's delivered for this football club today, because he's won the trophy. Don't think that Garnacho and Rashford have put a hell of a shift in for the team. They haven't. They've come and played 15 yards inside out of possession. They've probably done less running than they normally do on a normal day. But tactically, it was absolutely bang on. One or two players pitched in with performances. Mainu, Martinez, brilliant for Manchester United. They deserve to win the game today, no doubt in my mind.
Let's go back to Alex Crook, who's closer to the celebrations than we are. You could see, though, Alex, the joy on the faces of the United players is absolutely genuine.
Absolutely. I mean, this FA Cup has taken a bit of a kicking, hasn't it, down the years, and we have to remember the big call that's been made for next season. No more FA Cup replays, which I think we both agree, Adrian, is another dagger to the heart of the competition. But you try telling these millionaire footballers out there that the FA Cup has lost its gloss. They are milking every moment. And you mentioned Erik ten Hag. I was watching him pitchside during the trophy celebrations. He must have thrust that FA Cup towards the United fans to his left-hand side 5 or 6 times. He was enjoying it as well. Steve McLaren, who of course was part of that Sir Alex Ferguson backroom staff that won the treble, had a big smile on his face. Bruno Fernandes led his teammates away from that on-pitch trophy lift, clutching the FA Cup, and they're currently parading in front of their supporters. And I've got to say, the United end is still absolutely packed to the rafters. It just shows you, doesn't it? You can have such a bad season as they have, but there's still a shining light at the end of the tunnel under these blue skies at Wembley.
And you know what, Alex, that's what I love about this victory for Manchester United, is that Erik ten Hag, and let's admit that he's had a lot of injuries and key injuries. Pep talked about this in the build-up to this cup final. He's had some difficult injuries to contend with, Erik ten Hag, but even so, it's been a terrible season for Man United. Champions League was awful, Premier League was awful as well, but he's had one game to try and hit back and say, no, I have got something about me. And he's worked so hard to make sure they gave themselves a chance to win the game, and they've gone and done it. And you've got to admire somebody who does that.
Absolutely. And you have to remember, they were a toenail away from humiliation here against Coventry in the semi-final. He's dusted himself down since then. He used the final 2 Premier League games to experiment with a new formation, clearly with this FA Cup final in mind, and particularly in that first half, I thought the game plan worked to absolute perfection. And whatever happens in the next days, weeks or months, whenever we will finally get a decision about Erik ten Hag's future, nobody can take away from him the fact he's the first manager in United's history to win silverware in each of his first 2 seasons. When you think about some of the great names that have occupied that Old Trafford dugout, that is a tremendous achievement, and he deserves it, because I mentioned before the game, I think the way he's conducted himself in the media amidst intense scrutiny and constant questioning of his position, I think he's been terrific. And I think it would take somebody with a heart of stone not to wish Ten Hag well. United have won this FA Cup, 14 times now, beating this City side, denying them history. This might just be Manchester United's greatest ever FA Cup final victory.
Yeah, you could definitely make a case for that. And you yourself have called him for quite a while now the little bald genius, and he actually proved to be that today.
He's lost that tag for much of this season, it has to be said, but I think he's earned it this afternoon to come up with that game plan. It was a brave game plan because it relied on City having a lot of possession. You know they can kill you with 1,000 passes. They were willing to soak that up, but he had faith in his players and their ability on the ball to spring the counter-attack, and some of the passes they played in that first half were breathtaking.
They were. Marcus Rashford answered a few questions, and it's hard to marry that up with the Marcus Rashford we've seen on various clips that have gone viral of him just ambling around doing absolutely nothing for Manchester United. Well, he rocked up today and he put in a display, as did so many other Manchester United players as well. Erik ten Hag, who has been speaking after this cup final win, saying that when the full squad is available, look what we can do. And maybe that's his message, saying if I do get a proper squad, if we do have a bit of luck with injuries next season, things will be better. Well, we'll see if he's in charge. We are going to be speaking to Erik ten Hag very soon on Talksport. We'll get that reaction to you. We've got the phone-in coming up at 6 o'clock as well, 03717223444. For more reaction to come, live from Wembley on Talksport.
The Emirates FA Cup live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. So why not swap damp grey skies for glorious sunshine? Right now, you can save up to £60 per person. And we'll be with you every step of the way with award-winning VIP customer service. So don't miss out. Book summer now. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. Up to national protected. Subject to availability and conditions.
The Talksport Fan Network.
Unbeatable club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Put your three-lines knowledge to the ultimate test with the all-new Talksport Football Trivia Board Game England Edition. Use your on-target trivia skills to take on all challengers and score the ultimate board game bragging rights just in time for the summer of football. Featuring hundreds of weird and wonderful questions about the England men's football team. The Talksport Football Trivia Board Game England Edition. Available now at shop.talksport.com.
Bet in play with Betfred's Bet Builder. Available in Betfred shops. Selected matches only. Maximum stakes apply. Markets made available at Betfred's discretion. T&Cs apply. 18 plus per gamble aware.
Game day. Winner of Best Sports Coverage in the 2024 Radio Academy ARIA Awards.
FA Cup Final. Game day live on Talksport.
Live at Wembley, where Man United are still celebrating. They've actually cleared up all the silver streamers. They kind of cleared up after the party, even though the party has barely started. So not quite sure why they did all that. You've got players biting their medals, having pictures taken, and Man United absolutely wallowing in the glory. Let's just think back, Mickey Gray, to the goals. Firstly, the error from Ortega, error from Guardiola as well. Garnacho basically at the centre of it all, doing positive things for Manchester United.
Yeah, something that you just didn't expect from Manchester City defenders. But as I said, that was a back four that was kind of put together, and it didn't work out for them in that first half. And I think, full credit to Garnacho, still a young man, to have the reaction to think there was going to be a mistake, and he won't score a simpler goal, let's be completely honest with you, But when you tap the ball in the back of the net and give your side the lead, the impetus, the momentum was on their side after that moment, and I just thought, wow, that could be absolutely key in this game, because you knew that City were going to have their moments, but to get their noses in front, that was just perfect from Eric Ten Hag's men.
And Stuart Pearce, I actually really love the second goal. I mean, it's never going to win goal of the season, but for me it should be a contender, because it's such a brilliant team goal, and we've just been watching it back. And the pass from Bruno Fernandes, that pass to Mainu to set him up, I think it's pure genius from Bruno Fernandes.
It was. It encompasses vision. Prior to him receiving the ball, he knew exactly where it was going before he received it. Weight of pass as well. It had a message on that ball. If you'd have stopped the ball, picked it up, read it, not only would it have the make on it, it'd have had a message. Pop this in the back of the net, son. Just walk onto it and stroll in. And also on top of that, Mainu, 19 years old, took that in his stride. I thought Rashford had scored that. I really did, until he wheeled away. And I thought, wow, the composure to just stroke it in the goal, wrong foot the goalie, was outstanding as well. You're right, brilliant team goal.
And I think the other thing I had to say about Mainu there, that all started from the other end of the pitch, and he was in his own box defending, and without sprinting forward, he's just constantly gone forward. He receives the ball again in the middle of the park and sets them off in a different direction, and he ends up being the furthest player forward for Manchester United. And I'm thinking, now, if I'm a manager, am I thinking you should be doing your defensive work, or you should be going up there? I don't really care. He scored a great goal, and he's gone from one end of the field to the other to score that goal, Stuart.
Yeah, and this day and age in football, if you stand in the position that you're supposed to play in, defenders know where you are. If you drift into areas, all of a sudden, Walker's saying, well, who's dealing with him? Someone else is saying, well, he's run off the back of me, and it wrong foots you slightly as a team. But listen, I think the kid deserved that goal, because I thought he was outstanding in the first half.
And Mickey, I've just said how much I love the goal. I don't want to take anything away from it, but when you look at what City did to try to stop it, it was next to nothing. Walker, as Stuart said there, didn't really know what he was doing, didn't act like a captain, in my opinion. You look at Foden's lack of running back for that goal, Kovacic as well, who I completely forgot was playing in the first half, to be honest with you. So there's a lot of things that City didn't do. I'm not sure whether they would have been able to stop that goal, but they didn't try hard enough to stop it.
That goal is what City do to everybody else throughout the whole season. It epitomised the way that their movement off the ball. And I could tell you, 99 times out of 100, when Bruno Fernandes picked that ball up, I was expecting him to shoot. I think in any other game, I think he does, because that's just Bruno Fernandes. You look at his assists and his shots and the goals that he gets. So, as ex-players and people who watch the game and your knowledge of the game, Adrian, to see that pass is one thing. To distribute it the way he did, and Stuart said there about the pace on the pass, everything about it was just absolutely top class. I thought it was a fantastic goal.
You know, the beauty of the profession that we love so much is this. We were getting ready to write the obituary of Manchester United and their manager, by the way, 2 hours ago. And he's put on a tactical masterclass that has taken the cup to the red side of Manchester. We were also had it written as well about how an uber team Manchester City are, and unbeatable, can anyone do this, and creating history and all that. And that's the beauty of this profession, you know. You just never know what's round the corner. I walked out this stadium a month ago alongside Coventry fans and Man United fans, and you wouldn't know which one had actually won and lost the semi-final, because United were that bad on that day for those last 15-20 minutes. And they've come, they learnt from it, and they delivered a masterclass. And you've got to hold your hands up and say, well done to you.
Absolutely. And the joy of football is always worth embracing, but anything can happen over 90 minutes. There's a lot of work goes into that, Mickey Gray, as we've seen today. But anything can happen. City can be beaten. It's what I mentioned it just a few minutes ago. More and more teams have to stop waving the white flag with City and come up with a plan to at least try to take them on.
You've got to have your moments in games, Adrian, and I think too many times this season there wasn't enough of them. For sides that certainly went to the Etihad Stadium and played against City, where tactically before the game starts they felt like you're a goal or 2 goals down because of the way that they set up. Even the sides in the bottom half of the table. Whereas I think managers have probably got to look at that at certain times of the season and think, well, do you know what? People think we've lost the game before we started, so we might as well do something different. Let's set up a little bit different, like Manchester United have done today in a one-off game. And you never know, something might just click, something might work, and Man City might just get the shock of their lives when we take the lead in a game. We might frighten the life out of them. And I think over the last 3 or 4 seasons, maybe that's happened too many times. But what Ten Hag's, and I mentioned it earlier, I said a lot of Premier League managers will look at the way that Ten Hag, I'm not saying it's going to happen every week, but a lot of managers will have had a look at the way that United have set up today. Look, whether it's leaving a centre forward out of your starting 11 or something different, I don't know, and maybe look back and think, my goodness, that works. Look, they love playing through the middle of us. We've not given the chance to do that today. All right, if the ball goes into wide areas and the ball comes into the box from crosses, if we don't defend that, then that's our problem. We've got to hold our hands up and say, right, we made a mistake. But if you make it hard for City and then create opportunities yourself at certain parts of the game, I think the Premier League could have looked a lot different this season.
100% agree with that. Scott McTominay's just made his way down the tunnel, clutching onto his medal. Big cheer from the United fans who, they love him. They've always loved him, actually, Scott McTominay. And we see another example of Pep overthinking a big game, a big final. Remember against Chelsea in the Champions League, finally left out by Fernandinho and Rodri of that final. Didn't play either of them, and they lost that final. If we think about, all right, they won the Champions League final last season, but he left Kyle Walker out, which I think we're all puzzled by. And then this one, I mean, you've got all those attacking players, and he plays a front three of Silva, Haaland and Kovacic, which I don't think I can even begin to understand.
Well, let's think about Pep Guardiola's tenure at Manchester City. You can count on one hand how many times he's probably made a mistake, and it's cost him. And you've just mentioned 2 of them there, I think, as well. I think you could name 2 or 3 times in this game on its own where he could have done things differently. I mean, the 2 centre-halves, the pairing there. Could he have changed Doku to the right-hand side and maybe made something different? Did he have to play with 2 holder midfield players today? I wasn't quite sure about that. Then going to 3 centre-halves, which was a bit of a surprise to me in the second half. I know it nearly worked for them because they were the better side of the second 45 minutes, but they didn't get the job done. So, yeah, I think he's tinkered with his team a little bit too much for me today, but
Erik ten Hag is in front of the Man United fans on his own. There's no players around him. He's on his own and he's holding the FA Cup trophy and he's waving to the United fans. There's a lot of photos being taken of him, a lot of photographers in front of him. I don't know if he's waving goodbye there or what, but he's spending a lot of time clutching the FA Cup trophy and standing with the Manchester United fans. And Stuart, he's got every right to soak this up. Why wouldn't you? What a great day. Just enjoy every single moment that you can out there, especially with the fans as well. The sun's shining, everything glorious for Erik ten Hag. But it just makes me wonder what exactly we are seeing from Ten Hag here.
Well, we don't know that. The one thing you do know, managers at the sharp end of football, at any division in the country or in world football, it's such a difficult job. You know, you can train all your life, you could have over 1,000 games to your name, you walk down the street and some fella will come up to you who thinks they know a lot better than you do and tell you how tactically you got it wrong, you know, which is incredible. So it just fills me with pride, to be fair. I don't know Ten Hag at all. I've never met the man, but I know exactly the work that's gone into getting his team a result today. It was there in front of our own eyes. You knew tactically it worked in the week and over the last 2 weeks with his team selection and no centre forward, the dropped off 2 number 10s, all of that with an eye to actually get a result today, and credit to him for it.
He is still out there. Bruno Fernandes joining him. They're holding the cup aloft and more photos are being taken. He's actually said in a TV interview, Erik ten Hag, he was asked if this was to be his last game as United manager. He said, I don't know. For me, it's a project. It was a mess when I came in. It's now far better, but we are not where we want to be. So, again, Mickey, he's giving nothing away with that answer. Although, he hasn't firmly said it's definitely me next season. He said, I don't know.
Well, Adrian, is the club in a better place under Erik ten Hag? I think you'd probably have to say yes. 2 trophies in his tenure since he's been at the club.
Worst league position, though.
Yeah. But does that boil down to 15 different centre-half partnerships, full-backs being missing for large parts of the season, a midfield that he never really had until Kobe Mainoo broke into the first team, a young centre-forward with a weight on his shoulders to score goals and get into double figures for Manchester United in his first season? So difficult. And just trying to put a team together week in, week out to try and keep them anywhere near that top 4. Yes, they failed on that side of things, but they've got Europa League football now. They've got another trophy in the cabinet. They've got a transfer window coming up with new owners as part of the football club. I think it's in a pretty healthy place, Man United, moving forward. And you say this throughout the years. Who wouldn't want to play for a club like that?
Again, and when they always talk about, would anybody want that job in terms of managers? So many would want that job. Some City fan who's a mate of mine has just messaged saying wrong team for the first half, can't win them all. And even those who were picked in that first, I think it's Kovacic on the left, it was Foden on the left. And that's a message to Gareth Southgate, don't play Foden on the left, we'll see what happens. Let him drift as much as possible. But there were some glaring errors from Manchester City and some glaringly bad performances, Stuart Pearce. I think from some players you'd expect better from. I don't think Kevin De Bruyne played particularly well at all today. I don't think Foden was that good today. The Bernardo Silva at times, I'm wondering what's going on.
Well, you haven't mentioned Haaland either, and I thought he was as disappointing as most, aside from his effort to hit the bar. I thought he's a little bit non-existent. I thought Martinez outthought him a little bit in some of his interactions that he had with him. They weren't fiery. The only space was in the wide areas. For 45 minutes, they never had anybody in the wide areas to go past anyone. When Doku was introduced into the game, he was United's best defensive player. It's as simple as that, really.
Erling Haaland, 21 touches of the ball all afternoon, nothing on target yet. There was one that crashed the underside of the bar. But you'd expect better from that in a big game from such a big player.
Yeah, and we've said it a few times about him this season, Adrian, albeit, he's still got himself into 30-plus goals this season. But I think some of his performances have not been up to the standard that we maybe expected from Erling Haaland. But it's very difficult to criticise somebody who gets that amount of goals. But if you're talking about a 1v1 and tactical nous, Martinez got it absolutely spot on today. And I hope a lot of people can remember when he first came to Man United, everybody was saying he was too small, he wouldn't be able to hack it in the Premier League, in a physical aerial battle he wouldn't be able to do it. Well, I tell you what he has done, and we haven't seen too much of him this season. He's adapted his game to the Premier League like nobody I've ever seen. He plays centre-half like a holding midfield player. He's very calm on the ball. He knows when to up the tempo in a game. He knows when to make a rash challenge just to slow the game down. His experience is second to none, it really is. And again, his performance today, until he got cramped, outstanding.
I said it before the game, Mickey, he's got personality. And that's what this team lacked a month ago when Coventry started to roll over him at the end of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Martinez, I think, has played 11 Premier League games this season, with him in the lineup more regularly, 30-plus games. they don't finish 8th.
Well, it's an if, but and maybe, Adrian, isn't it? I think, you could. There's an argument to say that with Martinez in the starting 11.
It backs up what Ten Hag's saying, though.
It does, of course it does. And the 15 pairings at centre-half, Luke Shaw, if he's playing on a regular basis, makes Man United better. Whether it's Dalot or Wan-Bissaka playing in a right-back position, I think then you've got a real solid back four. But when you can't get that balance week in, week out, and Stuart will tell you this, as a left-back, and maybe even myself as well, when you've got changes defensively, it doesn't half play with your head because you can't, you have that understanding with the left-sided centre-half on a regular basis. If that changes, you think, right, well, what's he going to do now? And if that keeps changing every single week, your positional sense changes as a fullback, right? Can I get forward over the halfway line, or do I need to stay alongside me centre-half? And that's hard to work with, it really is. And then you've got to work from there, back to front. It's a difficult thing to do.
Well, defenders not playing together regularly was exactly City's problem today, wasn't it? That pairing had played together once this season. Pep has just said in his post-match press conference, Mickey, that his, quote, game plan was not good. He's taking the blame for it, and he said it's not the players' fault.
Well, I think it's it takes a brave man to do that. I think a lot of managers would, they'd maybe credit Manchester United. I think they would have done that as well for their performance because they got it spot on today. But I don't know, was he trying to be a little bit cute today to give John Stones a little bit more game time? I think John only played 16 Premier League games this season, I think it was. Alongside Nathan Ake, when you've got the quality that they had on the bench in those centre-half positions, who have been first class this season, Diaz and Akanji, I think he missed a trick there today.
Stuart, we're on England duty this summer. I'm really looking forward to it, but seeing John Stones today, am I right to be concerned?
He looked ring rusty to me today, didn't play well at all, in my opinion. I'm pleased that he's got on the pitch and played some minutes. There's no doubt about that for the sake of England, because I've always got my England cap on, What I would say is that particular area will hold the key to whether we're successful this summer or not, in my opinion. And Luke Shaw's availability will go a long way towards that or nullify it.
Well, Southgate said Luke Shaw, it's a long shot. So that didn't bode well at all. And it's amazing, isn't it, that Luke Shaw here today but unable to play. Harry Maguire here today but unable to play. John Stones gets a rare start but didn't show up particularly well today. That's possibly three of England's back four this summer, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it, really.
Well, look at it this way. Look at how I do. Mainu was man of the match. There you go.
And he's in front of him.
Thank you very much.
You filled me with Stuart Pearce optimism. You've got that magic touch.
Thanks, my friend.
And he'll come up with a winning goal as well. Absolutely magnificent.
Obviously.
Listen, fair play to Pep for taking the rap for it. His game plan wasn't good. Erik Ten Hag's game plan was absolutely sensational today. And what a good cup final. The FA Cup, Stuart, has had critics over the years. It's had people doubting whether it's still what it used to be. I've never been one of those doubters. Absolutely love the FA Cup. We've seen replays taken away from us from next season onwards, which is not something I'm particularly happy about. But it's still got something very special, the FA Cup, and I don't see that ending anytime soon.
I played in the FA Cup in 1979, non-league, playing away at Swindon and Southend. That's the glamour of it for me as a non-league player, all the way to the journey to play here in a final. This competition is nothing short of brilliant. And I'll tell you what, when the ball hit the back of the net for Coventry a month ago, you thought, that's the beauty of the FA Cup. But also as well, the other side of that is the team that were at their lowest possible point at that juncture have gone on to lift the trophy as well, and it salvaged their season. The FA Cup has salvaged Manchester United's season.
It has, and they were, for that 20 minutes at the end of that game against Coventry, they were truly dreadful. They were atrocious. And they've come here today and they're unrecognisable from that team that day. I'd even say in the semi-final, Man City was second best to Chelsea, but still managed to find a way to win, but couldn't find a way to win today. They were second best, and they ended up as runners-up in the FA Cup this season, but it's still a magical competition, Mickey.
There's nothing like it, and I don't think anybody does a celebration or the FA Cup like we could do it, Adrian. I mean, that brass band, going back to the beginning of the game,
The combined
I
armed
mean,
forces
that
band,
is just absolutely fantastic. Nobody does that apart from us. I mean, that
Abide
was
with
just,
Me and the national anthem.
It's just special things like that no other country can do, and just to see it in front of you, that was special enough for me. I thought that was just amazing.
And you know, Wembley's always better when it's half filled with blue and red. You got the colours of each half filling the stadium, and I just think that everything about today, I think it's just one of the classic FA Cup finals, Stuart. We will look back on this occasion and we'll think it was a privilege just to be there.
It had the sniff of that before the game. I said to Jim on air, I said it had the sniff of it. Both sets of fans contributed massively, and you could feel something in the air. There was something I couldn't put my finger on it. There was actually something in the air that you thought it's going to be an exciting game. And I thought tactically it was a brilliant game, certainly for one of the teams.
Yeah, and I have to say as well, it kind of needed Man United at least to make a go of it. If City had scored 2 first half, 2 second half, ran out 4-0 winners, we probably wouldn't remember it so much. So it is about not so much Man United winning, it's about Man United competing and really giving Man City something to think about. And in the end, winning the FA Cup final absolutely needed Man United to play above themselves.
And it wouldn't have surprised you, Adrian, if that had been the case. If City had run out 4-0 winners, we'd have all been sat here thinking, oh, well, we knew what we were going to get anyway. But, not just the final itself. And Stuart mentioned there, the semi-finals, and you go down to third and fourth round games that we've had this season. Some of the stories we've had throughout this FA Cup run to the final. It just brings up two sides together, a David and Goliath, if you like, throughout the whole of the FA Cup, and that's what we love about it. And I'm with you with the replays. If you a Premier League side, you have to go down to a non-league side or a League Two side. That's the beauty of the FA Cup for me, and we're going to miss that. We really are, certainly in the replays.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Man United have done themselves proud, and if we just go back to that game plan that Eric Ten Hag had, Stuart, to not play strikers, Jim in commentary was describing it as a 4-2-4-0, the tactics, which is exactly what it was. But have a game plan where you don't have an out-and-out striker on the pitch, and somehow by half-time you're 2-0 up against Manchester City. It's almost like football-defying belief, isn't it? It shouldn't really logically be happening, but it did.
It certainly did. And sometimes having 6-7 strikers on the pitch don't mean you're going to score regularly, or if it did, more managers will be doing it. Do you remember the Spanish side that didn't play a centre forward some years ago? Absolutely magnificent. You play to your strengths, you play to nullify the opposition, but by nullifying the opposition and putting their players, their front four or their midfield four, whichever way you look at it, in the positions he did, it put them in brilliant counter-attack positions as well in that first half.
3 seasons ago, Man City won a Premier League without a centre-forward. Or was it 4 seasons? Sergio Aguero, when he got injured throughout the whole of the season. I think that's the best Man City side I've seen. I've got to say, I think the football that they played and that counter-attacking football meant that more players had to get forward into the box, and they just looked such a dominant threat because they had a threat from the right-hand side coming in off that flank, the same from the left-hand side, 2 or 3 midfield players breaking through and getting in beyond whoever they were playing against, and I just thought they looked absolutely breathtaking at the time. I'm not saying it's something moving forward that I want to see, Adrian, no centre forward, but that performance of Manchester United, I go as far as saying it's the best I've seen them all season.
In all honesty, I think the way forward, and I've thought this probably for the last 40 years, certainly going back to when I was a young aspiring electrician who wanted to break into the game, I wouldn't play any centre forwards. I would just play all left backs. In all honesty.
Well, we've got 2 here. We've just played left backs today, haven't we? Let's get the end of the cricket. It's all over. John Norman.
It's all over here, and England walk off satisfied with a decent afternoon's work played out in front of a full house at England's second city. They've beaten Pakistan by 23 runs. Joss Buttler top scoring as England posted 183 for 7. He hit 84. There were runs for Will Jackson, Johnny Bairstow. England, though, did lose 5 wickets for 25 runs towards the back end of their innings. Really, though, we were all here to see Jofra Archer back in the side, an England side, for the first game in over a year. His first over was expensive. He went for 15. His second over, though, took a wicket, went for just one, and he picked up another wicket late in his spell as well. Pakistan, after losing 2 early ones, never really pushed England this afternoon, despite the fact that most of the fans here seem to be wearing the green and white of Pakistan. It's England who've gone 1-0 up with 2 to play. They've beaten Pakistan by 23 runs.
Final thoughts on this FA Cup final then before we hand over to the game day phone in 03717 223344. You get reaction from here at Wembley in that show with Jason Cundy and Darren Ambrose. Have we seen Man United lay out a game plan on how to beat, a blueprint on how to beat City?
I would like to say, Adrian, I'd like to sit here and say yes, it's okay setting it up, but on a weekly basis, do you think Man City wouldn't work that out? I think they would with Pep, but I just thought Erik ten Hag, the way he set his side up today, tactically, it was a masterclass, it really was.
And I think, sorry Stuart,
you've got to understand that Manchester United were fortunate to have the best one-on-one defender in the Premier League to deal with Doku when he come on as well.
In that case, should he be in the England squad maybe?
Well, you might have to put Walker out, but you know, Walker can deal with people, but in those one-on-one scenarios, Walker is pretty good. But I think Wan-Bissaka, I mean, we get wowed by Wan-Bissaka because we know how difficult it is to deal with one-on-one situations.
He's given a lesson to every fullback in the Premier League in my eyes today. Because how many times has Saka cut in on his left foot and whipped the ball into the box? And you look at other players on the right-hand side. Doku himself, how many times has he cut in from the left-hand side and got onto his right foot and just slotted a ball into the area? I think as a fullback, you've got to start dictating to wide players. But what I've seen, not just this season, over a period of time, and I'm going 3, 4, 5, maybe even longer than that, I think fullbacks have got to get to the point now where they say, right, OK, I know who I'm up against here. His stronger foot is taking him inside. As a fullback, I'm saying, right, you're going down the line, mate. If you put the ball in the box and they score from a header or a tap-in, fine, no problem. But you ain't getting inside and you're not scoring 7 or 8 goals a season from getting into the 18-yard box. It was first class from Wan-Bissaka.
Spoken like a true fullback, Mickey Gray. Stuart Pearce, thank you very much. Really enjoyed today. Thanks for your company. We're back here at Wembley tomorrow on Talksport for the Championship playoff final build-up from Box Park at 11 a.m. and then live from inside the stadium from pitch side at 1:30 for Southampton Leeds on Talksport. The game day phone-in is next on Talksport, 03717 223344. Jason Cundy and Darren Ambrose. They say you don't win anything with kids. 2 teenagers just won the FA Cup for Man United, live on Talksport.